Hey everyone, good evening. We are the Libertarian Party, the National Party, and we are here to do some recaps on our live stream election night.
Really excited to be here with you. My name is Lainie Huston, and I'm your Executive Director here at the National Libertarian Party.
And my name is Angela McArdle. I'm the Chair of the National Libertarian Party. So we're really excited because we've had over 600 candidates running across the country this year, and we are waiting on our volunteers to let us know exactly who has been running, who has been winning, whose votes are getting counted. We don't know exactly what's going on. There's been a lot in the news about how elections might take days, hours, hopefully not months for the results to come in, but we're going to be giving you updates as quickly as we can. Some of the races that we're really excited about candidates in California, New Hampshire. We're really excited about Pennsylvania. That's been in the news a whole lot. There's 50 states, obviously, and a ton of candidates. So we are just waiting to see what happens. Why don't we talk about some of the highlights that some of the candidates have gone through? So California has some races that are really exciting. Jeff Hewitt is the Riverside County Supervisor. One of our highest elected officials right now. We do have a handful of state assembly representatives as well, but Jeff Hewitt's race is really powerful because he has a tremendous amount of constituents under him. And so he is running, he's an incumbent, and he's had a really challenging race, but his campaign team says that he is cautiously optimistic.
It's always good to hear. And on that note, I know this question came up over the weekend. How many libertarians are already in office as we speak?
Oh, we have over 300 libertarians elected nationwide. These sort of numbers are a little difficult to keep track of because sometimes people enter into office and they leave office at awkward times throughout the year. So not everything happens today. For example, in Florida, we have around 17 incumbents at the county and municipal level, but almost none of them are up for re-election this year. That all happens next year.
Mm-hmm. But really exciting to see that we've got some people who are up for re-election, and we already have some who are occupying office, which is fantastic. Yes. So really excited to see that. And actually, while we're going through this, big shout out tonight, we have a really hardworking team of volunteers who are looking at races all around the country to be able to even update us. And so that's going to be fantastic to get that throughout the night. What else is going on in California that we want to talk about?
Okay, so Jeff Hewitt believes he's going to win, but he's going to barely squeak by. So fingers crossed. He's facing the combined wrath of 4 of the biggest government labor unions in the county, including the police, the sheriffs, teachers, and firefighters, in addition to obviously the donor bases for the other county supervisors who hate that he does not play union politics with them. They've poured close to $500,000 into smear campaigns and communications banking just against him. But Jeff has campaigned really aggressively. He's got a fantastic crew, and he's the incumbent. So I'm very optimistic to see how that goes. This is politics at a level that I don't think anybody else in the Libertarian Party has encountered before. And the argument for the optimism that his team has is that the level of smearing and mudslinging that is coming in at him is really just a sign of desperation from his opponents. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be close, but incumbency is a really powerful thing, and it might be enough for Jeff Hewitt tonight. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I know that's actually something we've been seeing nationwide. I know here at National, something we're trying to invest even more in is monitoring how we're getting discussed in the news. And I don't think anyone needs to have the fancy tools that we have to notice that libertarians are appearing more and more in the news, and we are seeing some of that smearing going on nationwide. I know some people might see that as a bad sign, but I get excited about it. It sounds like we're relevant and we're scaring them. So good luck to Jeff. I think that is probably a pretty good sign that he's a real challenger and a real threat.
Yeah, if Jeff wins, it's basically like it's a death sentence for the unions. And Riverside County is a little bit more conservative than the rest of Southern California. But, politics, as I love to remind conservatives, like unions and big money and big government is still a major player in conservative politics. So this would be a huge win for libertarians. It's not just striking against Democrats. That's really important to keep in mind. I would love to see an apocalyptic shattering of union power. That would be really fascinating.
And I know we're here in Austin, Texas tonight. You're actually coming, you just moved here,
Yep.
like myself. We moved a couple of months ago, both loving it, being in the great state of Texas. But California is where you moved from. What can you tell me about some of the other candidates that have been running in California and some of their chances?
Some other California candidates to keep an eye on would be the candidates running for city council in Hanford. So that is a little bit more central in the farmland of California. You've got Francisco Ramirez, who is a former mayor of the city of Hanford. He's running for city council. He's an incumbent, and his race is looking really strong. Amanda Saltre, who is also an incumbent in Hanford. I believe she's in District A. She is running, and it's looking good. And I was a little bit worried at first, thinking she was going to have tough opposition, but it looks like she's going to make it. And same for Shane Strawn. And I think Shane's race is a real model for other libertarians because he is not an incumbent, neither is his opposition, but he's currently the Parks Commissioner. So he is doing the thing that I always recommend people do, which is he's climbing that political ladder, gaining political clout, recognition in the community, and his volunteers have walked his district twice. Everybody has yard signs up, not just because they were dumped by volunteers. No offense, volunteers, but we all have the debate about how effective yard signs are, but it's because people are passionate about him and they put the yard signs up themselves. And I think that's a really good sign.
That's awesome.
Matthew Butts is one of his volunteers, and he said, it's been a great experience and it's been great to be a part of a potentially winning team. So that's also, it's just really good morale. And I think that that's something that's really good for the party as well.
Great. Well, I know we've talked a lot about California. Let's talk about some of our other states and what they are up to. What would you like to jump to next?
So let's talk a little bit about Illinois. Illinois, far away. We've been there a few times. I've been there. We've had a couple of LNC meetings there. We have a fantastic lineup of candidates in Illinois. They all have really interesting, unique backgrounds. So Bill Redpath is there. He's running for U.S. Senate. And he is our ballot access guru, longtime Libertarian Party member, very well respected. Love everything that he's done. He's worked on ballot access strategy for races across the country and helped us get presidential candidates in all 50 states. Mad respect to him. Scott Schluter is an Iraq War veteran running for governor in Illinois. Let's see, who else? Daniel Robin. He is a retired attorney running for attorney general, and he's also author of The Libertarian War on Poverty. It's a book that explains the nature of poverty, which is always left out of books on poverty and poverty activism and homelessness stuff, and its solutions from a libertarian perspective. As libertarians, we all love everybody who's an author. That's a very libertarian thing to do.
Yes.
What else in Illinois? We've got Jon Stewart, not the talk show host. No. We're talking about a former professional wrestler who's running for Secretary of State, who's taking his campaign really seriously. And then we've also got Deidre McCloskey, who is like a world-class economist. She's also a transgender icon, and she was a special guest speaker at last year's Freedom Fest. She is running for comptroller. So that's like some really cool stuff in Illinois. We've also got, I'm going to butcher this name. I am so sorry. Nico Satsoulis running in a two-way race for Cook County Assessor. And it looks like Nico is going to ensure that that county has ballot access. So Illinois, a lot of these races are related to ballot access, and they have levels, right? So state and county levels. So fingers crossed that everybody in Illinois gets ballot access.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're talking a lot tonight about individual candidates and how they're going to be performing, and there's a lot of exciting races there. A little bit later, we're also going to get into ballot access and how important some of these races are for not just tonight, but future races. And one area where that is important, I know we've all seen a lot of exciting wins, is in Georgia, where we have Shane Hazel running for governor.
Yep.
I know that Shane has really been having a lot of success, and we're really proud of him. What are you most excited to see about such a high-profile race?
So Shane was the talk of the town 2 years ago when he ran for Senate, and everyone said that he spoiled the election and he forced a runoff. And really, what he did was he drew national attention to the Libertarian Party and highlighted a lot of the failings of the Georgia GOP. And, you know, we always get caught in this argument that, oh, we're going to ruin it for the Republican Party. They're the saviors of our freedom. And he's done an incredible job of highlighting how the GOP fails, and they are not actually the party of freedom. So I'm excited about that. Shane is a real firebrand. He's a military veteran. That's definitely a race to watch closely. Same with his running partner, Ryan Graham, who's running for lieutenant governor, and Chase Oliver, who's running for Senate. And he's garnered almost as much attention as Shane has. Mm-hmm. Shane and Chase both made the debates.
Yeah, which I know that's really exciting. Libertarians, we love the dream that one day some of our candidates can make it into these debates. And it's been exciting to see that's happening more and more across the country, not just with Georgia, but all over, really. And it's amazing to see people perform there. Something else I'm excited about, though, is just as we are getting more and more access to these debates, we're also seeing that people don't need the debates, and they're having all kinds of amazing traction and impact on social media and breaking into the earned media and the press, even without the formal debates. But kudos to everyone who's crushed it and created so many good clippable moments, you know, that we've been able to see.
Absolutely. Shane and Chase both had some really great viral media attention, which goes to, you know, as a reminder for everybody else, practice, mm-hmm. because you never know when you're going to get into a debate and have that moment to shine. Georgia has really tough ballot access laws. So for everybody who made it, congratulations to you. Same for Ted Metz, same for Martin Cowan, one of our very own LNC members. He's running for Attorney General, and he is also one of the plaintiffs on Georgia's most recent ballot access lawsuit. So they are in a struggle, and we are hoping and praying that the Supreme Court takes their case.
And speaking of ballot access fights that have been really important and critical, and people have thrown a lot of energy into, we also have a lot going on in New York this year. Would you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, man. So that has been a real frustrating thing. Larry Sharpe campaigned so hard during the spring on his gubernatorial campaign. He had to collect 45,000 signatures in 6 weeks in hopes of making the ballot. He did make ballot access a few years ago, and the state of New York raised the threshold for signatures, and they have just thrown every possible hurdle in his way. His signatures were challenged in some unscrupulous process, and after a long legal battle, he's running as a write-in candidate right now. So I really thank him for his hard work, and I'm going to be working with the ballot access committee to strategize on a way to get him back on the ballot in a couple of years.
Absolutely. I know we're going to be talking all about different ballot access strategies that we can do. I think the New York race has really shown that there's an important opportunity to get creative and not only work hard, but work smart, right? And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so thinking across the rest of the country, what other races are you excited about? What other candidates do we want to be talking about here at the top of our live stream?
So more races to watch. Mm-hmm. We have our two controversial candidates who are running in ballot access races in New Hampshire. Jeremy Kauffman for U.S. Senate is running against General Baldock. This is also a ballot access race, and Baldock recently accused a Kauffman supporter of assaulting him, but it was caught on camera that was a lie. So that might end up costing Baldock the race. Good luck, Jeremy. Good luck, New Hampshire. Same for Carlin Borisenko, who's running for governor against Sununu, who was supposed to be, again, a great liberty Republican who still had the state of New Hampshire locked down initially in 2020. These guys are not representing our best interests, which is why we've got to push for libertarians. We've also got Ben Weir running there for sheriff. I like what New Hampshire did, which was that they concentrated their efforts on just a few campaigns and worked really hard. Mm-hmm. And that's how they were able to meet signature requirements and have the most volunteers for their campaigns.
And another shout out, I got the chance to go to PorcFest this year for the first time. First of all, really great. Hopefully everyone has bought their tickets and can make it out. But I was really impressed that they made sure that even at such a fun event, they were really concentrating it around signatures and seeing that they could get everyone on the ballot. It also feels like they ran everyone like a team, right? It wasn't just one campaign for Senate, one for governor, and so on. They actually grouped together and made sure that they could get all those things done at the same time.
That's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. So a couple other interesting races that are in the media right now are the Senate race in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Which
everyone's favorite, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say as far as who's more who's the worst candidate, Fetterman or Oz? It's a real roll of the dice.
Would you say that you stand for Eric, or you don't stand for Eric, or you stand for Eric?
I support fracking.
Do you support fracking? Let's go. You heard it here first.
Fracking.
The official position of the Libertarian Party. No, that's exciting. Well, I'd love to see what will be happening there. And do we feel like our Libertarian candidate has been getting any share of the discussion with such a high profile gaffe?
I think that Eric Gerhardt has been getting some media attention, a lot of pressure to drop out. And I think that if Dr. Oz was running as a Democrat, a lot of people would be hating him without him changing any of his policy positions.
Yeah, all you hear on all the commentary, whether it's in our world or more mainstream press, is really just how little anyone likes either of those two candidates, and one who can't even get across anything during a debate. So really good luck to Eric over there. How about any other races going in Pennsylvania? I know that was huge last year. We had a lot of candidates.
We have a couple others. We have Matt Hackenberg, who is running for governor.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's gotten pressure too, because all eyes are on Pennsylvania. And then we have a candidate, Carolyn Avery, who is running for Congress. And she initially joined our party actually pretty recently, and she flipped from the GOP, which we really appreciate. And she had a real legal battle against something called sore loser laws. And so the National Party was very supportive of her. And we did not win that legal battle, and she's still running as a write-in candidate. So major props to her for sticking it out, just like Larry Sharp, and not giving up.
Yeah, it's really great. I know that the flip side of all that ballot access friction is write-in candidacy, and so I was just voting today, and it's really important that you want to make sure you're able to still continue that campaign. So kudos to her.
Yeah, we've got a couple more interesting states that I think are worth watching. In Nevada, I'm learning to say Nevada, not Nevada.
Are you a Nevada person originally? I've always learned it was Nevada.
Well, I'm a Californian, but I grew up in the South, so we have trouble with the sound.
That's fair.
I'm trying. But Darby Burns running in Nevada's Assembly District 4. I believe he's running in a two-way race, and that one's really tight, so that's really promising. And they have some other really good candidates as well. They've got Brandon Davis, who's running for governor, Javier Trujillo, who's running for lieutenant governor, and Brandon Mill is running for Senate District 20, I believe. So they've all been working really hard. I'm very excited about all of their races. We've also got Austin Lynch, who's running for a state level position in West Virginia. And I believe he's also in a tight two-way race as well. Yet again, GOP failures in West Virginia, full of subsidies, big government money, lots of regulatory capture. Like, it's not, the GOP in West Virginia is not freedom oriented. They are GOP oriented, government loyalty oriented. So really excited to see if Austin Lynch can pull anything off there.
That's awesome. And I think something that's so great to hear tonight is we have such a mix of candidates running, not only geographically, so all over America and in different types of states, rural and urban areas, but we have it at all different altitudes. So you've got your municipal races all the way up to governor, Senate, which is really exciting.
Yep. And in Texas, of course, we have a ton of candidates here as well. We have Mark Tippett and Jaime Diaz, who have both campaigned by traveling around the state, which is just like, I wish more candidates did that. It's fantastic. Mark Tippett is running for governor against Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott, who had a very failed, very boring debate not that long ago. And Jaime Diaz is running for railroad commissioner, which apparently doesn't have much to do with railroads. Thanks, government, for throwing out
a little bit of a misnomer there.
Yeah.
Well, he did a really great job. I know you and I both got to go to our local Travis County meeting and hear a lot of those candidates speak. I was particularly impressed with Jaime and how he's running his race. And it's really great to have a young, fresh perspective as someone who's going to work that hard on their candidacy when they're so early in their career. So that's really exciting to see in Texas.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about that. The work that Jaime Diaz has done has been phenomenal. He has been really doing outreach with the Latino community while also emphasizing how important technological advancements are as the key to solving a lot of the environmental and efficiency concerns that people in Texas have, basically regarding energy infrastructure, whether it's oil wells, gas, anything else. he's doing a good job. And he's also given a lot of shout outs to cryptocurrency and talked about how blockchain can be used in different parts of, public policy.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's been some excitement we might be able to talk about later today with library and some big wins there, which is really cool. In general, I'm excited to see that we're in the libertarian community, not just being excited about crypto and buying and selling crypto, but actually getting legislative and starting to work politically around what we can be doing there. So,
we're going to have to after the latest SEC ruling that our own Jeremy Kauffman was involved in. So we will be, we'll definitely be working on that. We need to probably get some lobbying efforts going on behalf of the party.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I know that there are lots of exciting races to watch, and we'll be updating you anytime that we have news. And thank you again to our crack team who is working behind the scenes to not only watch all of those races and capture things, but also make sure we can communicate it all to you. Please make sure that in addition to watching this live stream, you're checking out all of our amazing social media, which is a great place you can hear anytime there is an update, and stay tuned to any developments that happen later today.
We are waiting right now on some of our candidates to join us from Alabama, waiting on Jonathan Reels and Ruth Page Nelson. I believe they're at their own election watch party, and they're trying to get to a quiet place so that they can join us. But Alabama had some incredible wins as well. Or I'm sorry, we don't know if there's wins yet. They've had some incredible ballot access advancements. Yes. They had, I believe, over 30 candidates statewide.
Wow.
And it takes a lot of work to get on the ballot in Alabama. So places like California, you can just, you go and you get like 40 signatures and you can run. It's not very difficult. But Alabama, it's a much higher signature threshold requirement. And so that's going to be really exciting to hear from them. Ruth was running for lieutenant governor. Jonathan's been running for Congress, and Jimmy Blake has been running for governor. And he also toured the state, which is really impressive. He's an older gentleman who sounds a lot like Ron Paul sometimes, which is really nice.
Yeah.
He was doing a bike tour, so take that, Biden.
Did he stay on top of it even when it was moving?
He didn't fall, I don't believe, a single time. So we are better at, we have better policies, and we're better at bike riding.
That's awesome. I'm so excited to see so many libertarians taking their candidacies seriously and working with great teams. I am coming right before joining Texas from the state of Washington. And when I got involved last year, everyone was so excited to tell me about Anthony Welty's campaign, where he had gone all around the state in an RV. Yep. And it really just seems like if you put the elbow grease in and are trying to hit as many places as possible in these statewide higher level races, that you really can break through and have a huge impact and poll really well. So best of luck. I'm excited to hear from them when they're able to join us.
I hope so. I've been working really closely with Gavin Goodman, the state chair. One of the things that I really love about what Alabama has done is that they are adopting this strategy of sort of becoming the new minor party in the state.
Great.
So Alabama is a very red state, and the Democrats have basically just abandoned it. They don't put any money behind their candidates. They don't run serious campaigns anymore. They run about, like, when you think about a libertarian campaign that's not run very well, that's the level that the Democrats are. It's kind of like the GOP in Los Angeles. So I think we're poised to basically just take it over.
That's really exciting. I mean, even just becoming, like you said, the sort of the minority party, like having that status as the second, Pepsi to the Coke of whoever is in that race. That's great. Because I don't think we want either of these two parties feeling entitled if they're in the second place just to have the second place, right?
And the GOP has been running hit pieces on our Alabama candidates, which is, I think, a good sign.
How you know it's working, right?
That's how we know it's working. They are terrified and they hate us, and we're very, very sorry that we don't care. Not even a little bit. What's another really good thing Alabama's done?
Well, I was going to say, here's something I'd love to hear more about. So I know that something you do in your role as chair is you're constantly in discussion with not only candidates, but also the teams who support them, who are just as important. And you frequently tell me about Gavin and the team in Alabama. So it seems to me like they're also doing that strategy I saw in New Hampshire, where it's a whole community and everyone as a neighborhood is really running candidates like a village. And so what are you impressed with from our team in Alabama?
They're very coordinated. They work well together, and they stay in communication. and they have done a lot of outreach around issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think that having issue-based campaigns is like really powerful because, you know, I love man economy in the state just like any other libertarian, but you cannot, you know, walk into some political meeting with with an 800-page book and try to preach to people because they just are so confused. Like, I love Austrian economics, but when you talk to the average person, what are they upset about?
Right.
They're upset about inflation, but they want a 30-second pitch of how you're going to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've been talking about in Alabama, not just inflation, which is important everywhere in the country, but some horrific things that are happening in the criminal justice reform area, or, you know, problems that we're trying to reform. What I know we want to speak with Ruth about this in a moment, but what have you been learning about the situation on the ground from our team?
So I've been chatting with Ruth and Gavin and Jonathan and also Pastor Kenneth Glasgow about it, who is a longtime advocate for criminal justice reform and prison reform. Apparently there have been prison strikes going on since, I believe, early September. And it's kind of Debbie Downer, but there's about 8 prison guards for like 23,000 inmates. And most of the people who are in these institutions accept that, you know, they accept their fate. They want to keep their heads down. They just want to like get out of prison. They just want to serve their time and go on with their lives. But obviously prison holds violent, horrific people as well. And those people make it miserable for everyone else. And the violence in a prison that is run by inmates with very few guards is atrocious.
I have been learning more and more about this issue, particularly in Alabama, since we've been talking about it, and it's awful. Like you said, Debbie Downer, it sounds like it's something. It's so egregious it wouldn't even make sense in the plot of Orange is the New Black. It's great to see that we've got people who are giving a lot of focus to their campaign to make it really issue based and get people, I wouldn't say excited, but passionate and invested in fixing it. Yeah.
So the prisoners have basically been striking because the conditions are just inhumane.
Yeah.
It's not like a prison, it's more like a morgue, the guards. And I had the pleasure of speaking with one of the guards who was speaking out about his situation last week on local radio. And he said that they drag bodies out and and they don't even know how long ago someone died when they go in.
Yeah.
It's so awful. So the prisoners basically run everything. They run laundry facilities, they run the cafeteria, the mail room, all of that. And they went on strike because they're like, you know, this is inhumane. It's not so much about just doing work. It's like we're treated like slaves in subhuman conditions. We just need like dignity and like this basic level of safety.
Yeah.
So obviously the people who are in positions of power were not happy about that, and we're cutting their food and they call it bird feeding, where they just give them barely enough to live.
Goodness, yeah.
It's really disgusting practice. So we've been trying really hard to raise awareness of that at the national level, you know, writing op-eds, just trying to get the word out on local media and national media. And I'm optimistic that our candidates, I think they're going to do well, but regardless of political outcomes, that they're going to continue to advocate for those people and try to say, you know, like, we understand they're incarcerated. We understand everybody's got to serve their time, but these are human beings. They're people's family members. They're brothers and sisters. Parole is another issue. Parole has dropped in Alabama correctional facilities, I think, by 83% since 2019. And this is not just people begging for parole when it's not part of their sentence. It's like parole is worked into your sentence. You're eligible in 5 or 10 years, and just no one's getting it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
really, really disgusting.
Well, and tell me a little bit more about how that's been going. Like you mentioned, we're trying to do everything we can at national to elevate not only individual races and individual candidates, but also the issues that they're fighting for, which is often one of the reasons why candidates are running in the first place, is to raise awareness. How has that been going? I know you've had some success getting some of this out in op-eds and really high profile, mainstream or alternative media platforms, which is really exciting to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that the news is actually covering it a little bit.
Yeah.
Although it did drop over the last few days, as I think the election drama has been heating up. So all of a sudden, human beings' lives matter a little bit less.
Yeah, I know that whenever we get closer and closer to the election, it feels like all of the pundits switch into CYA mode, where they want to make not too crisp of predictions, but make sure that they're sort of lightly talking about what's going to happen. It feels like it's a little bit more of the high school drama of what's going on in politics as opposed to the humans themselves who are being harmed in these circumstances. When we come out of the election, I know that we've got a really strong agenda that we're trying to work on. What do you think we can be doing to continue raising attention to what the team in Alabama is fighting for?
I think we just need to keep speaking out about it, and we probably need to identify other states that have similar issues. Because I think criminal justice reform, and obviously talking about the drug war, right? So like the war on drugs, there are people in prison who have committed, like violent crimes against person and property, but there are also a lot of people incarcerated over victimless crimes. And I don't think that anybody should be serving time for dealing drugs, especially not cannabis, especially not something like that is used medicinally in a lot of the rest of the country, something that is usually safer to use than alcohol, especially like if you're trying to operate heavy machinery or a vehicle. Not telling you to go, do bong rips and drive a car, but let's just like be real. Like this is not something where people consume it and they commit violent crime. And it's wrong to lock someone up for consuming cannabis next to a murderer. That's just gross.
Well, it's wrong to put them in a cage no matter what, but especially when you hear about how the conditions are, it's atrocious, and it's terrifying to think that, we're so cavalierly throwing people away and throwing away the key. And so I'd love to hear on that note, and we'll be able to talk to Ruth in a moment. What other issues have we been trying to elevate at national on the stage of all of the midterm elections that are going on?
So inflation is a big one. Everybody feels the pain at the pump, except for who was it? Was it John Oliver who was mocking inflation?
I'm forgetting who, but I think it's more of a problem that we can't remember because they're all the same. They think the same and talk the same, and they're all making all the same bad jokes. I want to say it was Mr. Colbert.
Oh, Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
Okay, Stephen Colbert. The same guy who mocked everybody for refusing to comply with mandates. Really, really wonderful people up there at the national level, those talking heads. So inflation is one. People just want sound money. They want to know what their dollar is worth. They don't want to see that the value goes down by 10, 11, 8%, whatever it may or may not be, since it's really difficult to get the truth on that. Another huge issue that National has been speaking out on, and a lot of our candidates have been speaking out on, is war. And this is one that I think is kind of like criminal justice reform, a little bit unpopular with both Republicans and Democrats. Like the Republicans have been trying to sort of keep up by opposing war in Ukraine. Not all of them, a handful of them. But it feels to me like it's very much an election season talking point, and their hearts aren't in it, because I don't hear them talk about ending the war in Yemen. I don't hear them talk about scaling back defense money that we send to Israel, those sort of things. So, it's going to be unpopular, and we catch a lot of heat from it in the international community as well. That's something we talked about over the weekend at the National Libertarian Party meeting.
Well, something that I have noticed, to your point about Republicans and Democrats, is I feel like they're so poll driven, right? They're so reactive to what is popular and what is working. And on the one hand, you can look at that and admire the sophistication of their teams and trying to understand how they can resonate with people. But on the other hand, I feel like they're always just trying to pander to people. And essentially, they look at one poll that says no one knows where Yemen is. This isn't an issue anyone understands. And they drop the issue completely. And something I've been really proud to see from our communications team and the work that you're doing, the work that a lot of our activists are doing and affiliates around the country, is trying to find the balance between talking to people where they're at about inflation and gas prices, but also saying you need to learn about Yemen, and this is a really important issue that we need to be fighting, even if it's not as popular or well known as Ukraine, right?
And that's probably something that's more your wheelhouse, is how do we kind of get this like implanted in the minds of people so that they actually understand how important it is. And it's like we have to take this unpopular issue and wrap it in emotional appeal and then make it related to their actual lives.
Absolutely. And I know we're keeping an eye here on what we want to be doing with bringing our candidates. So what we're staying to with our live stream team. But to touch on that very briefly, I think that something that I've gotten an opportunity to do as I've been a lifelong libertarian, as you know, a long time, but I'm pretty new to the formal party coming in last year. So I just ask a lot of questions. And something I've been hearing from people in both the areas of, war and being anti-war and very against that, but also how we need to fight out against, criminal justice reform in all of these different areas where it's atrocious is these are atrocities that are being committed in our name against, by the state, right? So even if this doesn't affect you personally, it's horrific that our tax dollars and the people who run our society are doing this when we do not support it in any way, and just trying to find a way to get in touch with someone that this is being done in your name. I think that's really powerful, no matter what is happening there. And with that, I know we're just trying to stay tuned to make sure that we can bring the best people on the time. What are we hearing from Ruth and team regarding bringing people on? Are we still trying to get a quiet room?
It looks like they're almost ready to join us.
Okay.
We're waiting suspensefully. I'm sure they have been campaigning all day.
Yes. And big kudos to anyone who's going to be on the call tonight. I know that whether you worked really, really hard this year on the trail and you're looking into just celebrating all that work, or whether we're looking at a win, anyone who's able to step away from their own election live stream, that is fantastic.
We appreciate you all. I think that while we're waiting on Jonathan to come up, we might want to bring up one of our potential first winners, which is really exciting. Oh, and here he is, Bill Schultz.
Hello, how are you both? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We are so excited to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate both of you inviting me to this.
So tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you today.
So today was my first election ever. I've been a Libertarian voter since I turned 18. I remember doing a write-in when I went to the booth for the first time with my mom, and she thought I was crazy. But I decided to run for city council. Let me back up even further. I decided to get involved with the Libertarian Party when I saw the mandates and the lockdowns and how blatantly wrong and immoral it was. So I became involved with the party in late 2020, helped restart a county chapter, county affiliate here in northern Kentucky, Kenton County, right on the border of Cincinnati, Ohio, in April of 2020, and then decided to throw my hat in the ring for Crescent Springs City Council. And I'll say this, I think any good libertarian official is sort of reluctantly running. I don't want to govern other people and dominate their lives in any way. So I'm not the absolute expert on the specific details of on election night, what's final, not final, all that sort of stuff. But from the results that were posted on our county website about 20 minutes ago, I was the highest vote getter for our Crescent Springs City Council, which I'm very, very proud of. I feel that we ran a campaign that reached out to everybody. I think the most important thing I would say is, while I have my own beliefs, I have my own initiatives, my main priority is going to be representing the residents and the business owners in Crescent Springs, as long as they don't violate, clear libertarian beliefs and ideologies. So, whereas I considered myself reluctant to run in the first place, I find myself, as we've wrapped up election night almost, pretty excited to have an opportunity to represent libertarianism and the Libertarian Party in office over the next 2 years.
So are they still counting votes for you over on your race?
I think they are. I don't think they'll call it final. Our county in general had a very, very rough day with voting machines and people not being able to use the technology and all that. But the county website, the county clerk, has published some unofficial results, and the vote totals themselves are pretty high. It's not like we're at a 20% reporting or anything like that. I've been tracking it too. I was the leading vote getter in early voting. I was the leading vote getter in the first batch of results, and then this higher vote total. I'm the highest vote getter. So I don't know if I'll wind up being at the top, but I feel good making it onto the council.
Very nice. And then I guess it's premature, so we're gonna cautiously congratulate you. We're giving you cautious congratulations on winning.
Favorite word of the night, cautious.
Yes.
I cautiously appreciate your comment.
And then I believe you had a big endorsement recently
Yes.
that everybody is talking about. You're the belle of the ball.
I don't know about that. No, I have had a limited relationship with Representative Thomas Massey, who is in my district, over the last 10 years. As a matter of fact, and this was a coincidence, I was heading out on a vacation, and it was while he was returning from his first trip to DC back in 2010 or 11, I suppose. And I had a chance to meet him in the airport and congratulate him on his victory. Throughout the years, we've kept in touch. I probably send him a text message once every 2 months or so. He responds about half the time. He's busy, I understand. It's interesting. So one of the items that I put on my flyer that I created for my campaign was about food freedom. And Thomas Massey's been a big supporter of the Prime Act, which would greatly deregulate requirements around farms and cattle producers as it relates to federal inspection of meat. And I kept it on my flyer. It's not as relevant. I'm in a suburban area, not very rural. But I kept it there as a conversation starter, which was very successful. A lot of people asked me, what's food freedom about? And I had an opportunity to explain to them, hey, as it stands now, a farm can't legally sell meat to you. They have to send it to a USDA licensed inspection facility, which can be hundreds of miles away. In any case, though, I had a lot of questions about that, so I decided to screenshot one of them to Thomas and say, hey, Thomas, I'm trying to get your Prime Act going here in the suburbs. And he said, that's fantastic. Can I endorse you? And I said, I'd welcome your endorsement. I'm a big fan of yours. I said, I want to be clear, though. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party. You know that. He and I have even talked briefly about some of the internal stuff in the LP. And he said, no problem. So I was really happy to receive that endorsement. Ms. Thomas Massey and I certainly would have some disagreements on certain topics, but he's been heroic during the COVID stuff. What he did when the CARES Act was being passed was as brave of a stand as you'll see in federal politics. So I appreciate a lot of what Representative Massey's done, and I'm very appreciative of his endorsement.
So do you have any goals for your term on city council?
I have two separate goals. The first one I mentioned earlier is about accountability and transparency. I feel like our previous council has not been very reachable, and even when they were, it didn't seem like things got moved along very professionally. I would attend city council meetings, and half the discussion was about, the Bonefish Grill has a big pile of garbage in their dumpster. Just things that were minutia and just not that important. But the big picture topics, why is the firehouse project overspent by so much, seem to be sort of blazed by. So my first thing is to be accountable, to be transparent, to be accessible to our residents. But my second is related to my belief in local rule, belief in libertarianism. I think it's difficult to emphasize decentralization. It's difficult to emphasize local rule in times of crisis, as we saw during COVID. In times where there is no active crisis, it's times to set up safeguards. So I am absolutely interested in putting in measures that tell our capital, Frankfurt, and tell DC as well, that look, we run our own city. We're not here to serve at the whims of the Kentucky State Capitol or the national capital. We in Crescent Springs, we can manage ourselves.
And Bill, you mentioned you were reluctant to run, and that the lockdowns really shook you out of that and got you involved. Was there a particular moment where you're like, I've had enough, it's time to do something?
I think a lot of us in March and April of 2020 were understandably confused or afraid or whatever. I'm a CPA and an entrepreneur. I'm a data-driven person. So looking through all of that, I started to see at a certain point, this seems to be the sort of thing that disproportionately affects those who have fragile health. And, I think those populations absolutely deserved to be protected in certain ways. I am a father of now 4, when the lockdowns were happening, 3 children, now from ages 3 months until 8 years. And it was very difficult, my wife and I, having to send our kids to school every day in a mask and all that sort of stuff. And, Again, it's not that I deny the existence and the seriousness of COVID for certain populations, but you can't just take a measure at face value and assume, oh, as long as it reduces X by Y%, it's good. There has to be a consideration for the trade-offs, and I felt that there was very, very little of that done. And taking a step back from COVID, you see that all the time as it relates to any government spending. Oh, spend. You can get all these programs, but now we're experiencing the inflation that comes from that. And so I think, there's way too many people in the political arena that think you can have your cake and eat it too. And I'm here to say, look, every decision that's made, every policy that's made, there has to be a consideration of the trade-offs.
And you mentioned running a race while having a full life and 4 kids. What is your advice to other candidates who are thinking of running, but curious about how much work it is or where they can invest their time so we'll have the biggest payoff?
What I would say is that the most important thing, especially as it relates to a local race, is being involved in your community. You can't expect to stay inside and all day and never be involved, whether it's your local church or it's your local civic club or a sports club, whatever it is. So even if you're hesitant about, I don't know if I want to run for office, I would say get involved in some way, even if it's non-political. And then beyond that, in terms of running the campaign itself, Crescent Springs is a town of about 4,500 people. It's just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. It's not like I had to come up with, 25,000 votes or anything to that extent. I had to come up with, 700-800 votes. And I would say my local Libertarian chapter, as well as 2 neighboring counties, were very helpful. We did a door knocking day, had 10 of us. We covered sort of the 4 neighborhoods that I didn't feel I already had appropriate networks into. It doesn't take too long. You have to just be a little bit strategic about it. I think that's worthwhile too. You're going to get advice from all different areas about do this. Think, okay, I know my city, I know my town, I know what's important, what I need to do, what not to do. It's about focus. And I'll say this too, I have to give a lot of credit to certain members of the Libertarian Party nationally. Amy Lepore, I guess she's a member of the Libertarian Party in Delaware, was super helpful about reaching out to me and asking what I need help with. And then Carrie Eiler, one of the LNC representatives, I believe Region 4, actually helped with some graphic design for one of my flyers. So I'm greatly appreciative to the LNC and to LP National for their support of my campaign.
We are so excited to support you, and we're really, really excited about what looks like it's going to be a pretty solid success. So we're giving you, cautious congratulations again.
I'm going to go into enthusiastic congratulations if we're allowed to do that. Yes.
Okay. And we hope that you stick it out, as long as you can, and that you inspire more people to run. And one thing I really want to see candidates do is mentor the person to take their place when they're kind of done, or they want to take a step back to focus on family or retire or whatever it is, your career.
Yeah. I think the other thing I take from your story is, while it is certainly a work and there's no getting around that, it's actually not as scary or complex as you think about it. So I would really encourage people to just like you said, be a little strategic and focus and see how much damage they can do. So congratulations on getting it done.
So
Thank you.
Do you have any parting words for us before we bring on Jonathan Reels and Ruth Page Nelson?
I'll say one last thing, for anybody out there who is thinking about, should I make a run? Should I not? To what both of you just said about inspiring others. So we had a little get together earlier tonight with members of our county affiliate. And just from that, so I'm the county treasurer. Our county vice chair said he is going to run for sheriff at the next cycle, which I think is 2026. But he committed to he will be doing that. And then our county chair had originally planned to run for state rep against one of our worst Republican representatives, who's just a mouthpiece for our local hospital. He said that he will get it done next time, get the signatures and paperwork in time. So for anyone out there who thinks, I'm on the cusp, do I want to, do I not? The sooner you do it, the better. It's going to inspire people in your county, your local area to do the same thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It looks like we have some Alabama candidates who are ready to jump on too. We've had a lot of representation from the southern states and just absolutely loving it. Super excited. So I think we've got Jonathan here, and it looks like he's ready to join us. Jonathan Reels, hey there. How's it going down in your neck of the woods? We cannot hear you, but we see you, and we're so excited you're here. So I think you're going to have to adjust your microphone a little bit. He's not muted. Oh, is he muted?
Yeah, I think so.
I got you. Oh, you've got to connect your microphone.
Always fun to see. We're mostly out of the pandemic, but we still get to deal with,
I know.
audio-visual challenges.
Come a little bit closer, and you might want to just use the microphone that's hooked up to your computer or your camera. This is a Libertarian live stream, so that means that we're all incredibly tech savvy and still have problems.
I keep clicking it. There we go.
Hey,
Are we here? Are we on?
how are you? What have you been up to today? I know that you.
Today we've been up to a lot. We've been all over the district, all over Alabama, and you missed the thunderous applause here from Dothan, Alabama, of people ready.
Woo! Yeah.
Yes, there we go. So yeah, we've got a lot of some of our candidates here. I am Jonathan Reels, for everybody who doesn't know me. Dave Jones drove all the way down from Tennessee for some reason. I think he was afraid to blow up his house whenever he won the election or something. So yeah, we're having a great time down here in Alabama. We're getting the vote out. When they don't stop our people from voting, that was a big problem today.
Been a huge problem.
It's been a huge problem today.
Huge.
We have David Boatwright, who is about to be elected to the Alabama State Senate. David received a very interesting message from his opponent today. Run again next time and run as a Democrat, and I'll make sure you get elected. But that's a really weird thing for somebody to say to a Libertarian who's about to whip their ass. So we do have a special guest in the house. It's one of our friends, Angela. Kenny, do you want to come up here? So you were just talking about what was going on in the Alabama prison system, and Kenny has been one of the people who's been on the ground for how long, Kenny? 17 years? 28 years fighting this fight. And we're so happy to have him here with us tonight, building these bridges and putting people first, because that's what's important. And that is what the Libertarian Party is all about. It is about people. It's about self-ownership, and it's about a world set free. And I would love for Kenny to be able to speak to the Libertarians out there watching right now.
Only thing I want to say to the Libertarians is thank you all for being who you are and being human beings and bringing humanity back into this election. It seems that we have a confusion that politics somehow forgets about people. So we want to thank the Libertarian Party for bringing the people back into the politics. And I will be joining you. Thank you.
The work that he has done so much. Pastor Glasgow's advocacy has just been absolutely incredible, and we're really blessed to have him be involved in the party. Yeah,
that's a big deal, I think, because it seems to me like he says, "I will be joining you." That seems like he's joining the Libertarian Party, and that's coming from a long time activist for one of the parties that we do not speak of. So yeah, that's a big deal, I think. So yeah, Alabama, we're really hitting the ground running down here. We have Ruth Page Nelson, who last time I looked at the polls, she was in striking distance of a victory. So we'll see how that goes as this develops.
Put KIV in a home.
But she's running against that spoiled rich kid, Will Ainsworth. So when KIV goes to the home,
Put KIV in a home.
She'll be the one that takes over.
Well, Jonathan, our theory on most of the duopolies politicians is they're the stupidest rich kid in most families, and they have to figure out what in the hell they need to do with them. So I think that's just another one of those dumb rich kids that they can't give the business to. So they make them a politician so they don't have to think. They just give them something to vote on.
Yeah, just sign this piece of legislation right here and you can get your snack. That's what they tell them.
The Ivy League to government job pipeline.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Ivy League school to government job pipeline
That's
for.
exactly what that is. The Ivy League to government pipeline. That's exactly right.
So what else has been going on with your candidates? I'm curious to hear a little bit about the trouble that people had at the polls in Alabama, if that's an issue.
Oh, absolutely. So today, I was out walking around, making sure people were going out to vote, popping in anywhere I could, all around the city of Dothan, which is, you know, the largest city that's fully in my district. And I didn't run into a single person that said that they were not voting for Libertarian candidates. And I didn't run into anybody that said they weren't voting for me. But what I did run into was at least 15 people that were turned away at the polls for some reason, even though they had all of the required paperwork and Secretary of State information. They could pull it up on their phone. So that's a weird situation, especially knowing the information that here in Dothan, people are voting Libertarian. So we'll see how that you know, that situation plays out here in the future.
Yeah, that's really aggravating. So were prisoners able to get their ballots in on time? I know that's something that Pastor Glasgow has been working on really hard.
No.
He is shaking his head no, but he's got a lot to say. I know Kenny.
Hear it.
A lot of people, first of all, we got to check every sheriff, because a lot of the sheriffs did not comply. After the Secretary of State sent them the email, and I'll forward the emails to you, for them to comply with the law. That's first of all. Now we go to the prison. And a lot of them wasn't given their absentee ballots on time. They wasn't given proper mailing and said they had to provide their own postage. Even if they had indigent on their books, didn't have no money on their books, they still had to provide their own postage and all. So this is the way they stopped the vote. One of the other things that happened is that one of the machines in Slocum, Alabama, the people told them, say, hey, the machine is down, just give us your ballot, fill it out, and we'll put it in the box over here, and we'll add it later. And going back to the prisoners, the prisoners that I've been able to speak to, they were on board to vote Libertarian all the way down the ballot, because the Libertarian Party of Alabama has been the party that's actually shown that they care. We're the ones that showed up to the events. We're the ones that stood there with the family members. And you know, for everybody who doesn't know, I want to give Pastor Glasgow his props on this. And this is when I knew he was a Libertarian. He just didn't know it yet. He fought a battle to make sure that people who were in prison for victimless crimes had their voting rights restored, so that way they could be the citizens that they are. And you know, we say it all the time as Libertarians, if there is no victim, there is not a crime. And these people, they got their voting rights back, and today they were not allowed to be citizens.
So any other candidates that you've got on the ground with you tonight?
So Ruth was just here. She went to the store real quick. I don't know why she did that right in the middle of our party, but she decided to do that. You can't tell Ruth what to do. Hopefully she'll pop back in here in a second.
I hear that David Boatwright might be polling around 27%. Anybody have any updates?
David Boatwright, you want to come up here and talk about that?
Woo! Last time I checked, I'm sitting at 28%.
Yes, yes.
28%.
Okay. So what's that mean for ballot access in Alabama?
Well, in ballot access in Alabama, what do you guys need? What, 20% in a statewide race?
We need 20% in a statewide race. So when it comes to David's race, that doesn't really help out the ballot access, but it definitely sends a message. And the people of this district for years have been trying to get rid of this guy. And David, I would like to thank you for giving the people in our community an option, because without you, it would have just been a coronation of Billy Beasley once again.
Yes.
Yes.
If there are not options, it is not an election.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons why. Can we see the sign? Can we see the sign? What we need to do is resist your rulers, and that is what we have in almost every single position in our government right now. We do not have representatives. We have rulers, and that is what the Libertarian Party of Alabama is doing. We are giving people representatives, and we are fighting back against our rulers.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, why in the hell is Dave Jones down here in Alabama?
I was wondering too.
Yeah, Jonathan's wondering too. It's because I believe in what the strategy that the candidates here in Alabama have made over the past 2 years. I believe the Libertarian Revolution of getting candidates elected is going to start here in the Southeast. As a lot of Libertarians watching might know, Region 2 added Mississippi and Alabama this year. So we have Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. We have the Southeast Conference
Woo!
of the
Yes.
Libertarian Party.
I like it.
War
And it's going
down.
to start right here in the South with Alabama, with Tennessee, with Georgia. Some of the toughest ballot access laws in the country are in Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. In Tennessee, we have to get 56,083 signatures to get the Libertarian Party on the ballot. There's been no third-party candidate on the ballot in Tennessee since 1961. So Alabama, there hadn't been anybody on the ballot in 20 years. There has been no third-party candidate in the history of the Libertarian Party in the state of Tennessee, and we're going to change that using strategies the Libertarian Party of Alabama has used. Libertarian Party of Georgia, we're going to get that ballot access. We're going to have candidates up and down the ballot. We are ripe for having Libertarian candidates run and win in the South. So, in y'all donors out there who are watching, who wants to donate to some state party,
You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
You know what time it is. The Libertarian Party of Alabama, my good buddy Gavin Goodman, Libertarian Party of Tennessee, Libertarian Party of Georgia, Libertarian Party of Mississippi, Libertarian Party of Florida. Region 2, the Southeastern Conference, we're going to make like college football, and we're going to dominate this.
Woo!
That's right.
I like that. I like the tide associated with libertarian. Yeah.
So one of the things that I think that makes the Southeast so ripe for this type of change is the fact that, the Democratic Party claims to be the party of the people. That's their claim. They make that claim in every single stump speech, every single commercial, but they have abandoned places like Alabama. They didn't even have the decency to run candidates in almost every single election in this state. And I'm glad they didn't, because that's where we ran candidates.
Yep.
And we ran candidates up and down the ballot from every position possible. And they are seeing that people want choices. They're seeing, and these are the same people that put out literature telling you to vote straight ticket, even though they knew that if you voted straight ticket Democrat, that you would not even be voting in 80% of the races on your ballot. They're disingenuous, they're liars, and they do not care about the people of Alabama. And people here are seeing it. It's very apparent. And that is the reason why it took nothing to convince people to vote Libertarian. As soon as you present them with an option and you say, this is what we stand on, we believe that you have rights, they say, sign me up, let's go. And we're going to see that grow, especially in places here in Alabama, like Dave said, in Tennessee. We're going to see it grow in Georgia. We're going to see it grow all over the Southeast, because this is territory that the Democrats have abandoned, and we're going to give them an option.
And Jonathan, it's so great to hear y'all are filling that vacuum. If we've got other states around the country who are hearing about your success tonight, what is your advice to them about how they can go in and make sure that there is a choice on the ballot, that these parties can't just come in and take that as an entitlement? How does an affiliate like yours notice, hey, this is an opportunity where we need to recruit someone and get them to run in a vacant race?
So obviously, to get really nerdy for the Libertarians, we're just going to have to look at
that.
the data. Yes. You're going to have to look at the data, look at the spreadsheets, download every single piece of election information that you can find. That's what I did. I dug deep. That's how I figured out that there was such a great opportunity for David Boatwright. Whenever I had the pleasure of informing David that he had a chance to actually win, the look of despair on his face was priceless. Like, oh, I'm going to have to work for the government. But you got to look at the data. But the real trick to all of this is, it doesn't matter if you're just on the ballot. If people are not aware of the choice, then it doesn't matter if you're on the ballot. Yeah. You need to be out in your communities. And, you know, people kind of get frustrated with me whenever I say, get off the internet and get out into your communities. You know, be at the events. Can somebody hand me one of these beers with this cool little thing over here? Right here. So this right here has been the most effective piece of campaign literature that I've had. We have gone to music festivals. We have gone to local concerts. We have these in bars. Mind your business, Jonathan for Congress. This right here, people have started studying this. I run into people where I see these. I've never talked to the person, but they've got one. They picked it up from a bar. They picked it up from some sort of event, and they are aware of the Libertarian candidates. And that's because we're out. We're in our communities. We're where people are. We're not on the internet. We have to get past that. The internet was great for us growing our base, but now we have to move past that.
Very nice.
Yeah, I will absolutely agree with that. Liberty in action, not liberty in action. It's because of efforts like Jonathan Reels, David Boatwright, Ruth Page Nelson, a lot of candidates in Alabama, a lot of the candidates up in Tennessee, like Lamont Wilson, myself, is getting out in the community and serving people, putting our libertarian into action. That's how we found people like advocacy over here, who's putting libertarian into action every single day, helping people. I saw it today. There was a gentleman who came today on Ruth Page Nelson. Was there. They helped him out. They put the work. They brought him home. They fed. And being able to show that to the community. And not just get up there and talk about Republicans, Democrats. They want to get up there and they want to talk about stuff, and what they're going to do, and this and that. They never follow through. But people like Jonathan Williams and David Boatwright and candidates that we have all over the Southeast. Portia Shepherd. Oh, I love Portia Shepherd.
Love Portia!
Portia, yes. So, you know, and being able to show that to people who has done this for how many years, Pastor? 28 years. And showing them in the state of Alabama, where we have this opportunity. Not only tonight, because whatever the results of tonight are, we're going to work tomorrow. We might be a little hungover, but we're going to work tomorrow, no matter what the result is tonight.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
For U.S. Congress, and here's where we're at. We're working.
Thank you guys so much for all of your hard work. I mean, you guys have been like a model state affiliate. You have shown not just hard work, but strategy and how much more effective you can be when everybody's working together and cooperating and sharing resources. It's been really incredible. It's also been really incredible to hear about candidates who are actually touring their state. So just major thanks to you, Jonathan, and to Ruth, and to Jimmy, and to David, and to Portia, and everybody else who's run, especially to Gavin Goodman, who has been managing all of this, and while he's also running his own campaign. Like, the work you guys have put in is phenomenal, and the National Party just really appreciates you.
And we definitely appreciate the spotlight that you put on us, and we really hope that we can lead by example.
Yes.
I want every state out there to do better than what we did. I want you to look at what we did and say, you know what, we've got some ideas on how to improve this, and show us how it's done.
I hope that they all rise to the challenge. I want to hear challenge accepted from every state affiliate. Well, we are going to move on and have a handful more candidates come on. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your election wrap party. You deserve all the credit, and I just hope you have a fantastic night, and we'll be in touch again soon.
I do have one thing to say for all the libertarians out there.
Yes.
Is that, now, if you'll excuse me, I have some Hennessy to drink.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Wonderful. That is so exciting. I mean, gosh, what a great group of candidates. And
Yeah.
you really nailed it. I feel like they're doing everything end to end. They've got the strategy and the hard work, and big shout out not only to the people who are running campaigns, not only run on charisma, but the energy of all the people
Yep.
who put it on. And you could hear like that part. I want to be there right now.
Absolutely fantastic. I think that Gavin Goodman and Jonathan Reels and the whole crew, they're probably going to want to sleep for 48 hours in a row
After the Hennessy. There we go.
Yeah, this has been probably a very exhausting 6 months for them. They've been going a long time.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of celebrations, we've got a couple of exciting announcements that we're really looking forward to sharing with you all. And we want to make sure we run them down the list here.
Yes.
Where do we want to start?
Let's start with Jeremy Rogers.
Incredible. So Jeremy Rogers, it sounds like it was just announced that he scored his mayoral race. So congratulations. That's in Kentucky and a local race. So really excited to see. It's one of our first announcements of the night. And I'll hand it on. Oh, go ahead.
Big winner energy. It looks like he's in Russellville.
Oh, Russellville. Congratulations to Jeremy on your campaign there. And next up, we have, and make sure we pronounce all this as well as we can.
We're trying.
Shannon Deniston, who won Magistrate / Justice of the Peace. And that is in, let's make sure I've got this here, Montgomery, Kentucky County. So congratulations to Shannon. And next up, we have Lex Hannon, and also winning Magistrate Justice of the Peace, and that's in Boone, Kentucky County. Moving on, we've got David Harriman, also winning Magistrate Justice of the Peace in Montgomery, Kentucky County. So a lot of amazing races in Kentucky. Congratulations. Really excited to see that we are starting to get those wins trickling in. And of course, really happy to congratulate Bill Schultz, who's been getting more and more applause in his area. So it's looking more and more like that cautious can scale up to enthusiastic.
Yes.
So congrats again to Bill.
So it looks right now it seems to be that Bill is in the lead. There were 7 candidates running for 6 positions. And so if he's polling at number 1 right now, it's going to be quite a stretch for him to drop all the way to the bottom. So it's looking like Bill has nailed that race, and I'm really excited about Kentucky. And it might be that the southern part of the United States is just more libertarian than some of the other parts of the state. So the challenge is there for the rest of us.
Well, gosh, something I've been noticing as I've been getting more involved in the movement and in the party is that really some of the places where you have the toughest hurdles or the most oppression is it brings libertarians out of the woodwork, and you get this amazing talent who says, not here, over my dead body, I'm going to work really hard and figure this way out. And you've got people who not only bring that energy, but they get really strategic. And I've just been more and more impressed while I hear all around the country, people are getting very clever and out of the box and finding ways to rise to the challenges. And so seems like the South is bringing it. And I'm really excited to hear that they're not just doing well in their own states, but that they're talking across the region, which is not only fun for school spirit, but in general, just to be sharing resources across, different affiliates.
Yes. So in Tennessee, I believe we had a gentleman named Michael Wilson who was running for office, and he ran a write-in campaign because he faced some challenges. Obviously, getting onto the ballot, it is tricky there. So I am optimistic actually that Tennessee is going to make some ballot access gains over the next couple of years. There is a really wonderful organization called For All Tennessee that has been working to lobby to get libertarians back on the ballot. So that's really exciting. If Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama all work together, I think that there's probably a lot they can do. I know Arkansas does not have the same challenges, and our own Lainie Gabbard was running for office. So I'm curious, hoping that she does well. We're still waiting on election results to come in Arkansas. So let's think about what are some other exciting races that we have had that we're waiting on listening. Well, we're still waiting to hear an update on Austin Lynch in West Virginia. We're still waiting to hear an update on our candidates in Nevada. And I heard that New Hampshire is counting their ballots painfully slowly. I think only like 16% of their ballots have been counted yet.
Which is fascinating. I was just hearing today that a lot of our pundits in the country look to New Hampshire as one of the speediest races, and it's a bit of a bastion for the rest of the country and a watermark there to see how things are going to go. So best of luck to everyone in New Hampshire. And speaking of just waiting on some more exciting news of the night, I know that as we mentioned, we were doing this live stream. Several people who are getting really excited and about all of the candidates, they're having some questions around ballot access. And so I thought we might give you an opportunity to share not only the types of things we're excited about with ballot access tonight, but what have we already accomplished? Because there's really a couple phases of ballot access.
Yes.
It never ends, right? And it's constant life cycle. So could you tell us about that?
Yes. Okay. So Alabama, they had to collect a bunch of signatures to get their candidates on the ballot. And so if Ruth Page Nelson or Jimmy Blake gets 20%, then they will maintain ballot access for a few years. I believe Illinois is kind of similar, and we're going to hear some more details later on this evening from Jeff Maurer, but they have ballot access to a certain extent right now. But the higher the percentage their wins go, the more opportunities open up for them. So they may be able to be included in primary elections. They may open up appointment positions. They also have county level primaries. So there's a lot of potential for ballot access in some of these states. Georgia, we're still waiting to see if the Supreme Court takes up their case as well, because their ballot access requirements are very onerous. It is less challenging, I believe, to run for governor than it is to run for like a congressional representative position. That's like a very steep battle, but it's not impossible. We just obviously we need to kind of emulate Alabama and get really coordinated and focus on issues that people care about. I think that's something that probably Illinois has done a really good job of, as well as Indiana. Indiana has ballot access to a certain extent, and they kind of like Alabama, they operate in a very strategic way. All of their candidates work together. So we really need to just like pay attention to the leadership that some of these other states have set before us and emulate it. And institutional memory is really important. Our Texas candidates, they're able to gain ballot access, but it costs quite a bit of money. And so they have had some recent litigation victories on that front as well. So I'm very excited there. California has maintained ballot access for a long time. We just have to, I'm no longer in California, but it's still in my heart. I mean,
once a Californian, all a Californian, but thankfully once a Californian taxpayer, not always a California taxpayer.
Hallelujah to that. So they just have to get a small percentage every year to maintain ballot access, and they do that pretty well. As California is a huge state, and it's all terrible, except that generally, when you have a huge population chunk, that also means you're going to have a pretty decent libertarian. It's just basic math. Like you just have more people to work with, and so that presents some opportunities. New Hampshire. We're very hopeful. Maine, we had a recent ballot access victory in the state of Maine. So that's very promising. And I believe that we're going to hear probably from another, I think we might have another winner in the state of Maine. So stay tuned. Very hopeful to hear if Jeremy wins his race.
That's really exciting. And I know we're going to be having more and more winners throughout the night. And before we jump into that, I'd love to hear from your perspective how if people are hearing about this and they're wanting to support not only next year, but get the party ready to go and helping some of these ballot access. I know earlier Jonathan was mentioning, get out there and donate. And I just want to give good people, anyone who's listening, an opportunity to figure out how they can help us. There's two big areas that you can help the party restock and refuel as we're jumping into 2023 and 2024. Very simply, go to lp.org/donate, and you'll be able to find general ways to donate. Or if you're really passionate about ballot access or supporting candidates, that allows us to do that in a lot of creative ways.
Yes, yes, we are going to be needing assistance with ballot access funding in New York, and we're going to need it especially in Ohio. That's another state that has quite an uphill battle. I believe Tennessee and Virginia. I believe Virginia had just a couple of local candidates running this year because ballot access is really challenging there. So we're excited to help them as well. And I think we might have just gotten an update on Georgia. I think their Senate is going to go to a runoff election.
Wow.
So congratulations to our candidates there for polling high enough that they are affecting the outcome of the election. And I will remind everyone again that Republicans in Georgia are not libertarians. They are not. They are not. Drill that into your head. They are not.
Yeah, I know that one of the guys on the ballot is actually notorious for ballot access, being ballot access blocker, right? So it's really great that we have a lot of people who are there. I know that there was a lot of excitement with Georgia in recent elections too, so interesting to see that they're going to a runoff again. I know we've got a couple of wins, and we want to give them to you as soon as possible. So we're going to read off two more, and we're spreading out around the country, moving from our eastern seaboard over here over on west. So quick shout out to Aaron Lamb, who's in Keensburg, and he's just won his mayoral race, and that is in Colorado. So congratulations to Colorado for our first trackable win of the night. And then we also want to give a shout out to Nathan Madden, who won a write-in candidacy, incredible work there, for school board member. And he's going to be doing that at Buckeye Union High School District, and that is in Arizona. So really excited to see that the South is following up some wins with some competition from the Southwest. So really great to see, and we'll be continuing to monitor wins throughout the nights. And at this point, I know that we've got polling locations that are starting to wrap up all around the country, and really exciting to see all of that. I'd be curious to hear from you. What is, for those who are newer to joining the Libertarian Party, what are some ways that they can be getting involved if they are excited? We talked a little bit about donating, but if you're feeling fired up, either about being a candidate or helping a candidate, what do you do next week in order to start getting involved?
So one of the first things I recommend you do is get involved in your local affiliate. So that means your county level party, if it's organized that way. You just want to look up your state party, look up your county, and see if they're active. So here in Texas, we attend Travis County LP meetups. And they're fun, they're fun social events, but you also get to meet other people who are politically active and interested in making a real change. Obviously, you want to join the state party. Usually it's, something like $25 a year. Every state has a different membership. Some states they don't charge for membership at all. You can also door knock for candidates. One of my passion projects is attending city council meetings and giving public comment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know that we've got several libertarians who do this to great effect. And honestly, just showing up and listening and just showing that there is even accountability, that there is someone listening can have a huge impact. But everyone is able to comment for the most part. And you can really keep people on their toes and put them in the hot seat just by attending. And that takes no training or practice or hard work at all. You just gotta show up and be there, right?
Yes. So the thing about going to city council meetings is that it's a great place for you to meet people who are already politically engaged. And this is one of the issues that libertarians struggle with, is a lot of us are very passionate about policy and libertarianism and reducing the size and scope of government, but we don't necessarily know how to get involved, or we don't know other people who are involved. And so we struggle to get our other kind of philosophical friends engaged. When you go to city council meetings, you meet people who are already wanting and willing to make a change, and they're there. And they need leadership. They need to understand how to engage politically in the most effective way possible. And they need basically just someone else to help them and encourage them and structure their activism. So for instance, in the city of Los Angeles, and I'm not sure if we have any libertarians running in LA right now, it's actually ballot access in the city of LA County is kind of challenging. You have to get a lot of signatures. But in LA, one of the ways that we were able to overturn the vaccine mandates was by going to city council and speaking out against them at city council meetings. The way that worked is we would go and all of our guys would line up, right? We would all take a turn. 1 to 2 minutes is the maximum amount of time you get. And you say, hi, my name is Angela. I'm with the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles County. We oppose mandates because we believe they're a gross violation of your constitutional rights and your natural right to bodily autonomy. We don't care what political party or affiliation you're with. We just want to fight these things. If you want to join us, you're welcome to join us. You can contact me here. I yield the balance of my time. And every time you do that sort of activism, people will gravitate towards you. They will contact you. I would get about 30 hits every time. Every single day, we would just line up our guys. And if we would get like 5 or 6 guys on the calls, like we looked so well organized, and we were. And that's how we formed the group that worked the petitions to overturn the mandates. And we made such incredible progress so quickly that city council decided to call off the mandates because they didn't want it to go to a vote, because they were embarrassed because public polling, even on mainstream news, showed that they were going to lose.
Yeah, and I love this story. I know you talked about this at Freedom Fest, and you were able to give people tactics to think, strategically as if we are an insurgent force, and that was really exciting to see. Mainly just this general idea of getting creative. And what I love about that story is the script you just ran off. First of all, you can see you memorized it because you guys did it so many times. But it was poised, it's polished, it's not trying to cram a textbook down anyone's throat, and you're opening the door to build a bridge, just like they were talking about in Alabama. And so obviously we've got a lot of wins coming in tonight, and people who will be inspired to either change around their strategy for their candidacy or repeat things. But that's not all we do in the party, right? We also build issue coalitions. This is something you can do at any time of year, whether it's November or not. So what are you excited to see around the country there?
Oh boy. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I've got in the works right now. So Andrew Watkins, who is also an LNC member, has been working with me and a handful of other Libertarian Party members to form an anti-war issue coalition with members of the Green Party and Movement for People's Party and Independents. So that's really exciting.
And that's coming up pretty soon here in a few months, right?
Yes. Yeah. So right now we tentatively have a peace rally planned for January 14th in Washington, D.C. And I'm super excited about it because we've got 3 parties that are all working together. We're all passionate about this issue. We're all very outspoken about it. There's no disagreement on how important this is. And people are worried about nuclear war. They're worried about sending their children overseas. They're worried about our tax dollars going to fund wars abroad that we have no business in.
And so how does something like that come together? I know when we talk about the role of chair, people see you elevating these issues, but you also have a great opportunity to network with other issues. So did anyone approach you? Did you approach anyone? How did that all form up?
I think it might have been Will Hobson, a libertarian in Oregon, who was telling me that he wanted to work on something. And I had other people asking to work on something. So I said, let's form like a chat group, get everybody together and just put them all in a chat group. And so someone did, and they started talking about ideas, and I just come in once a day and I'm like, yes, maybe not. Let's not call it that. Let's not call it this, And they just started getting more and more people together. And as we chat, we find areas of alignment. Yeah. And we started just picking out dates and doing polls, like what works for you, what works for you. January 6th was floated by. We're like, if we do it on that day, then people are going to lose sight of the real issue, and we just whittle it down until we get like a really pure message that everyone's in alignment on.
Yeah. And so how does one, if you're really excited to involve, whether it's another party or another, NGO or anybody who is interested to do activism, how do you even broach reaching out to something like this? Do you recommend doing it informally through their members or more formal channels?
So if you're going to reach out, first of all, if you want to get involved with us and you're a libertarian or you're not, just go to lp.org, scroll to the bottom of the page and there's a contact button, hit us up there. But generally speaking, I think it's good to you just kind of take a leap of faith. You just say, I heard that the Green Party, or I heard that the Movement for People's Party is passionate about this issue. Would you want to work with me? And 90% of the time or more, people are going to say yes, because this is especially an area where we need allies, and everybody knows that. And this is not a partisan issue. This is something this is like the fate of humanity. Yeah. And I think that everybody gets it. So it's you just got to be willing to extend a hand to someone who otherwise you might, I don't know if they're my people. And this time they are absolutely your people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's really exciting to see that we're doing that at the national level and really getting interstate about this. Yep. But I've seen some amazing work happen over the past couple of years at the local level too. And so one thing that's great with libertarians, you don't need anyone's permission to build a bridge in your area, and you can be doing that at the county level or state. And we're seeing a lot of that. And again, so proud of Alabama and everything they've been able to accomplish there by getting creative. So I know that in a moment here, we're going to be thinking about or giving you all an update on how many people have won throughout the night and how many people we're still waiting to hear about. Is there anything else we want to let people know before we're able to jump in and just kind of give a quick overview holistically of how we're doing nationwide?
I think we were talking about issue coalitions. Another one is ballot access, actually. And that's another area where we have found alignment with the Green Party, and we might be finding alignment with the Movement for our People's Party. Another really cool thing that I'm going to be working on with independents and other minor parties is an independent national council event that will be happening in Austin, Texas this spring.
Great.
So we're going to be having a lot of speakers in. I'll be a keynote speaker. I don't believe the LNC has taken a formal vote on it yet, but I'm going to be presenting that at an upcoming meeting and getting official buy-in. I'm really optimistic about that. And the way that I approach these conversations and the way I recommend everyone else approach them too is when you're talking with people from different parties and you're unsure whether or not you're going to line up with them, don't start at a policy level position. Start a little bit higher level and talk about shared values. And this is how you'll be able to move past disagreements on policy. So libertarians and Greens, for example, we don't see eye to eye on things like the FDA or the EPA, and that's okay. If you need to work with someone, what you really want to talk about is, well, what do we agree about our future, right? We all want a clean, safe, prosperous earth for our children. We want humanity to continue to flourish. No one is going to say, I hate human beings and I want them all to die. You're not going to hear that in politics. You might hear it on social media, but you won't hear it in politics. So that's where you want to start those conversations. And that's how I've been able to make inroads with people who I wouldn't otherwise have political alignment with. And when you can be an adult to do that, what you're also doing is you're demonstrating leadership and maturity, and it makes people want to work with you.
Yeah. And I know we're not only trying to build bridges across America, but also outside of our borders. Love of freedom is a borderless thing. And I know we just got an update from our very own LNC member, Miguel Duque, on some work that he's been doing there. Are you excited about anything going on in the libertarian world that's not happening in America on election night tonight?
I'm excited that Miguel has been working with the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties. I think that's really fantastic. So the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties is an alliance of libertarian parties around the world, and they get together on calls and once a year, in person, and they brainstorm and share different ideas about leadership, outreach, strategy. We just compare notes about the different struggles that we're encountering, and also our wins, which is very important because tonight is all about winner energy, as you would say.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. And there's been controversy about how outspoken we've been on war. And I think that Miguel has done a really good job of threading that needle and saying, you know, like, the Libertarian Party in the United States is not like in favor of Putin destroying Europe.
Yeah.
We're very anti-war.
Yeah.
And we don't believe that the United States should be interfering in foreign conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done a really good job of explaining that and standing strong while
Yeah.
also being like a compassionate voice.
Yeah.
Because we understand definitely there are people in Europe who are suffering.
Yeah.
There's refugee crises. There's, you know, like I feel for the people in Ukraine who are having to deal with this nightmare scenario.
Right. And I know that in his capacity, he is really serving as an ambassador. I know that when we hear news about what's going on around the world, we tend to think, it's easy to fall into the trap that the government is the country, and there are citizens everywhere who want freedom just as much as we do. So it's great that Miguel is able to translate and really be an ambassador to each of these different countries. And I guess that's kind of the playbook when you're building a coalition at a smaller level here in America as well. With that, it sounds like we are getting a couple more pieces of good news. I know that in a moment we might want to be going to our winners versus waiting graphic, and we'll hear back from our comms team whenever that is ready. Let me know when we want to flip to that.
I think we are waiting right now for a couple of guests, but it looks like we do have a short update on how many winners we have. So still counting everyone. We're still waiting to find out how many total are left. But right now, at least we can confirm that we do have people across the country who have definitely won their position. So congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, this is really awesome. And again, I'm so excited to see some of those announcements happening early on tonight. And so glad we were able to hear from Bill directly there. And again, I know this is really hard work, so I want to keep giving shout outs to the team who is watching all of these races and making sure that we can get the results as soon as possible. Really fantastic to see all of that. And it's looking like we're starting to get some of our guests who are going to be able to join us in a moment. Do we want to bring everyone together or start with someone waiting in the lobby?
I think we will defer to our producers on when we bring up our guests, but I'm super excited. Looks like we're going to have our LNC secretary. Oh, here she is, Ms. Karen Ann Harlows.
Hello, how are you doing?
We are doing fantastic. How are you? You're not only our LNC secretary, but you're also a candidate yourself.
I am. I'm not going to win my race, but that is okay. I learned a lot of great lessons. I will definitely do it again. And we had a little bit, I live in a very, very conservative county. I don't know how, again, I don't care about a blue or red wave. Like, I could care less, but in our county, there was a red wave in our county. So even though my race was a nonpartisan race, the Republican is doing extremely well. So maybe, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. I'll definitely do it again. But here's what people don't think in races, even that you don't win, you then start to get looked at to be put on crucial committees in your town councils because they realize that you're serious and you'll probably run again. And I definitely will be taking advantage of those opportunities to try to get some city council appointments. But I do have good news from Colorado. When you were talking about issue coalitions earlier, remember we had Linda Templin at our LNC meeting. It looks like RCV is winning in Fort Collins. She had talked to us about that. I don't know what I'm sorry, I still lost my voice from this weekend. I don't know what the percentage of votes is that's in, but last I looked, it was like 57% to 42%, which is a healthy lead. And Colorado has really been leading the way on chipping away at local getting RCV. And I could tell you, I'm going to be working on a Castle Rock RCV initiative next year. Me running and getting my face before the public this time is going to help with our RCV petition. So I want to encourage people, even if you don't win your race, you have just leveraged yourself, particularly in these local races, to start to have the libertarian voice heard more and more and more. So I think I'm at about 7% in a three-way race, and I'm not disappointed. I'm happy to get a libertarian voice out there, but I'm so excited for RCV.
That's awesome, Karen. And I think you make such a great point. It's so easy to look at things in a binary fashion and say, did a libertarian win? Did they not? But really, it's about reframing victory and what it is we are winning. Like, so to your point, you've gotten your voice out there. You've gotten attention for some of the issues that you're advocating for. What are some of the other wins that came out of your race? We talked about lessons learned as well.
Well, I would start earlier. I know everyone says that. I think I started too late. But to be honest with you, I was ignorant. And I got schooled, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Educated, I guess is a better word. Schooled has such negative connotations, from someone who's ran multiple times, that said you can even fundraise according to our local laws here, which I fundamentally misunderstood in some way. And don't be embarrassed to say that. You can fundraise before you've even gotten the petitions. You only have to get 25 petitions here, but there's only like a couple week period you can get it. And I was under the misunderstanding you really couldn't start until you were officially on the ballot. That's not true. If I were to run for town council again, I would start months earlier. I didn't realize you could do that. And also in Colorado, we are strategizing on how to get more volunteers out there. I'll tell you one reason why I'm not at all disappointed in my campaign. I did it with there were 4 volunteers total, including me. And one of them gave one afternoon, but really it was 3 really hardcore volunteers, and we covered thousands of addresses. So I imagine what I could do with 20 volunteers. Yeah. And in Colorado, we're really strategizing on how to get more volunteers out there for candidates. For the amount of volunteers and money I had, I did very well.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I know we were talking about this weekend, and that number really shocked me. 4 volunteers, it's very specific, and it's easy to see how much ground you were able to cover. And so what would be your advice to a volunteer who's on the cusp of whether they can make a difference in a campaign? I know that my assumption as someone who's newer to the party is that, wow, that would be really difficult to do any kind of race, but for something small, it's very manageable, correct? How did you and your team manage that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's fun. You print out the maps, and as you're, crossing off the maps, and not everything I know some people are shy and they don't want to directly talk to people. The door lit dropping is super important because it gets the name recognition out there. The person who is winning this race, he's a perennial candidate. I think he's run 3 or 4 times and he didn't win before, but he's winning this one. That gives me encouragement. And I believe even Kara Schultz says this, your first campaign a lot of times is your learning experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's your third campaign that you win. But I consider the fact that I ran an absolutely principled, no compromise libertarian campaign. And you can get votes doing that. And you will get people people will respect you for doing that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And Karen, I know something I always appreciate about you on the LNC is that you're working to make sure that we are taking that institutional knowledge, as you say, or that experience and sharing it around at that highest level of the LNC. What's your advice to candidates if they have figured out something that's worked or something that doesn't work or something they regret that they didn't do? What's the best way for them to pass that knowledge along to other candidates in their area or maybe around the country?
Well, that I think they need to get to the LNC, and then the LNC needs to pass it around. Honestly, we're the distribution machine, but record it on LPedia. I'm going to pimp LPedia, like record it on LPedia on your campaign page. There's been some great tips that have gone out there, and like the tip Kara Schultz had given that one time of putting a recipe on the back of your mailers and doing like 5 different recipes, and people are like trading your campaign mailers rather than throwing them in the garbage. But there's always things like that you can do. But yeah, it would be kind of a cool idea if we asked the candidates after this campaign for just a few tips and we send it out in a mailer or something, I think that would be incredible. Like, I'll tell you, this lady did not end up running, but what a fantastic idea she had. Chickens were a big deal in one of our more half city, half rural areas where they wouldn't let you have backyard chickens. Unfortunately, she didn't get to run, but the idea she had was to stand out and pass out eggs that had her campaign on it. Like, what a fantastic idea because you can actually win on issues like, you want to know what? You should be able to have backyard chickens. In the right community, you can win on that.
Yeah. First of all, how ridiculous is it that anyone can even tell you what to do with your backyard or your chickens, frankly? But I'm really excited to see the clever marketing that's happening. We just spoke to the team in Alabama who's been leveraging koozies to great effect. So that's awesome. And as you can see yourself, Karen Ann, we've got up on the screen here that we've been able to announce 8 winners tonight, one of whom was from Colorado. So again, shout out to Aaron Lamb for his race there. What else is exciting going on in Colorado?
You know, I just got home from work. As you can tell, I'm still in my work outfit, so I haven't been able to keep track of all of the campaigns, to be honest with you. I went almost immediately to the RCV thing, because I do think RCV is when we're going to be able to see more wins in our column. The deck is stacked against us. And we need voting reform. We need willing candidates. We need better ballot access. So, you know, I'm very involved in these. Oh, I don't know if this is going to win. Oh my God, it's so close. But in Colorado, we have an initiative to legalize psilocybin. It's a constitutional amendment. It requires 55%. And it right now is neck and neck with no. You know, so that one I'm watching with bated breath. I hope if it doesn't win, they try again, because it certainly is super, super close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Colorado obviously is a pioneering state for amending these outdated laws, and with cannabis, that was really the first place that this took place. So really hoping to see that happens, and I'm pretty sure that the affiliate there has been working with issue coalitions to advance psilocybin as well. Actually earlier tonight we were starting to talk about teams and affiliates that are running not only as these individual candidate races, but have just a fantastic culture in Colorado. And I know that is happening there in the state. Could you speak to what is in the water that makes everyone so excited and so passionate to work together in your state?
Okay, you're gonna let. Well, I was gonna give the pat answer and say it's the weed man, but it's not. I'm going to be brutally honest with you, because I don't like, taking credit or acting like I know something I don't. I've been so involved with national and with helping like New Mexico and Virginia and some other states. I'm not nearly, to my shame, as involved in Colorado as I should be. So I would actually defer to the people who are I don't want to be a stolen valor type of person, because, my work's mostly been on the national level. The accomplishments of Colorado are all credit to the current board, which I'm not a part of. So I don't want to steal any kind of their thunder, but we've got just the COVID thing energized people here. The state of Colorado, we're not going to get into last term, was always very good on that. We did the Reopen Colorado. We did a lot of that. And I think that helped galvanize the activists here to have a cause to rally around.
That's great, and honest and transparent as ever. And you give me an opportunity to brag about what I know about Colorado. And we have some more wins. I'm going to turn over to Angela in a second. But one thing I want to applaud that state affiliate for is their use of technology and being able to come together and really get organized about the way that they are structuring their work and really prioritizing and focusing. So kudos to them for not only taking that energy you mentioned, but channeling it and getting very strategic in the way that they're building, everything from candidates to legislative tactics. So great work there. I've gotten the chance to announce, I think, all 8 of our wins tonight. So do you want to do our 9th of the night?
Yes, absolutely. So I believe that Jeremy Westengard has won 96%. Gretna City Council Ward 4 in Nebraska. He ran unopposed. but he had obviously a sweeping victory. So congratulations to him. And another little piece of intel that I received from Illinois is that Nikos Atsoulis did establish Libertarian Party ballot access in Cook County through 2026. Right now, he's polling at 19%, which is enough to maintain the LP on the ballot. So that is a really cool ballot access win that just came in.
Awesome. That's so exciting to see. With that, I know that we've got a lot of these races that are coming in that are really important for ballot access. I know I just got to ask Karen Ann a bunch of questions. I'm going to take a quick break and let you guys keep talking, and we'll see who else is able to join us from our guests in a moment.
Yes. So I know that there are a lot of other candidates running in Colorado. I know that Brian Potter was running.
Mhm.
We need to get some updates on his race as well as the others. But yeah, major shout out to our Colorado crew who's been working just relentlessly to build issue coalitions and grow the party. I am hoping that I get to see them at an upcoming convention, but I am 8 months pregnant, so travel is going to be touch and go over the next year. I'm curious, Karen Ann, if you're thinking about running again in the future.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to run again in the future. I can tell you what broke my heart in Colorado and then broke my heart as I'm watching, and don't judge me, anyone out there. I cut the cable a long time ago, so we're not paying anything. So we have to watch the news we can get for free. And right now we're getting Newsmax for free. And I've always says Newsmax is what you get when you order Fox on Wish. It's like cray. But in watching the election results, there were two-way races where they actually were showing the Libertarian. So it was nice to see along the bottom, either red or blue, and then the gold. So I saw some races, two-way races where we were getting 25, 30, 35%. And that isn't what broke my heart. What broke my heart was the one to see a red or a blue and then just a black box because nobody ran against them. Now I know that's because of crappy ballot access laws in some states, but I can just speak for my own county. We got to do better. There were unopposed. We have great ballot access in Colorado, and there were unopposed races. So I would like to find that. I mean, I might do town council again, but I always have to compete with my husband for that because he likes running for town council too. But there was unopposed races here. And I'd like to look for those and run a real race, not just be the other option. Like run a real race. Why is this such a tongue twister for me? In some of these unopposed races.
Absolutely.
Like, there should never be an unopposed race if a Libertarian can get in the ballot. And I understand some states they just can't. I don't know the laws in all of these cases, but I saw way too many black boxes up there on the screen. I'd have loved to have seen them be yellow.
Yeah, I think that this is something that we need to work with the affiliate support and candidate support committees on, which is to how to actually do outreach to get some candidates running on our platform. I think that's really important. It's challenging. It's challenging because we're all overworked, but if we start recruiting candidates, then we don't also have to be candidates and campaign managers and sit on the LNC and, so on and so forth. So we'll just, we'll share the responsibility around. So we might have Pat Ford coming on soon. Speaking of affiliate support, still waiting. He looks like he popped in and out briefly. I'm excited to hear a little bit about what's going on up in the northeastern part of the country, affectionately known as Region 8. For those of you who are in the know or not in the know, that's New England and a little bit more in New York. I'm not actually sure what counts as New England. Maybe Pat can fill us in on that when he's ready to go.
Yeah, technically, I don't know either. I call everything there New England.
Yeah, I'm a Southerner, California transplant, back to Southerner again. So I'm not really sure. It looks like Pat might be ready to join us though. Hey there.
Hey everybody. How's the sound? How's the video?
Sound is great. You're definitely there on video. We'll see if you lag or jump in or out. We see you.
Well, I picked up on some of your questioning. So New England is, as we all know, the birthplace of liberty, and of course, Rhode Island is effectively the spiritual capital of New England. And you know, with the sinking of the HMS Gaspee, but you know, you've got your Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. That's New England, and then Region 8 also includes New York and New Jersey. It's been a fascinating night electorally here in New England. The red wave that was promised to materialize has not happened here across New England, whether it be Massachusetts. There was some contention that the New Hampshire candidate for Senate would be a factor. Here in Rhode Island, what was supposed to be a very close race for Congress appears to have gone to the scion of a political family, the Magaziner family, if anyone remembers that from Hillary Care. And in that, I think that exists real opportunity for the libertarian movement. The Republican Party has not been able to capture, if you will, the essence of liberty. And Region 8 is a region resurgent. You know, we're still waiting for a lot of returns from across the region, but Vermont put up a number of candidates. Rhode Island, Elijah Gizzarelli got about 1% of the vote in a race where he spent most of his time working to get on the ballot. So a great effort by the Libertarian Party, the first time they've been on the ballot for governor in a generation. So there's real opportunity, real challenge. In New York State, obviously, the candidate for governor crashed and burned. You know, they need to understand that there's a new alternative for liberty in the Northeast, and we're ready to do it. So,
are you saying that Lee Zeldin didn't swoop in and save New York from tyranny?
You know, again, as much as I love my state, Socialist Workers' Paradise of Rhode Island remains the leader in well, let's just say governmental control and governmental excess. But we can save New York from itself. Again, the green shoots are there. I heard Karen Ann's remark about it, and it was spot on about running for your first time. And there were a number of candidates around the Northeast as libertarians that are running for their first time. And sometimes it's a challenge. It's easy to get caught up within your group that you're running. It's going great. And then we understand that we're fighting, you know, an entrenched machine that's funded by our governmental dollars. The irony is hideous. That essentially, in places like Rhode Island and New York, they use our tax dollars against us as political weapons. And so, also, again, Karen Ann was spot on. It's all about the volunteer efforts. We need to, you hear me say it again and again up here in Region 8, we need to inject the volunteer gene into the DNA of the Libertarian Party. You know, again, Karen Ann did great first time out with a handful of supporters out there working the doorknobs of Colorado with door hangers and what they had to do. Imagine then if we could get 10 or 15 or 20 volunteers. So a lot of moving parts up here in the Northeast, Madam Chair.
And one shot I think I heard you guys saying as I was coming back in the room, it's not just volunteers who are door knocking, but also people who are volunteering as campaign managers and treasurers, which have particularly difficult jobs, not only to be strategic, but also make sure you're following all the regulations that you have to do. That's really difficult and challenging. And do we have any advice for anybody who's looking to get into?
Yeah, you're spot on. We have a saying here in Rhode Island, you have to play by their rules to destroy their rules. We have to continue to mount professional operations that, you know, again, work within the system until we can, well, take it over, to be blunt. And you know, and there's so much opportunity for so many people with so many different talents in the party. You don't have to be that person out there in the spotlight if you're not comfortable there. If you're a technical person, Lord knows we need you. If you're
we briefly lost Pat, but Karen Ann, I've got a couple of questions for you while we.
And by the way, I sold myself short. I'm at 8% in a three-way race.
That's great. Yes. 1 more percent. And I'm going to bring Pat up back up in a second here. And this gives me an opportunity to tee up a question to both of you, which is, you know, we've been talking a lot about the present today, but we have not only our unofficial party historian here, but also someone who's been with the party quite a long time. And I'd love to hear from both of you. What are you seeing in the present today, or as we look into the future of the party compared with our history? What feels exciting about the moment in 2022 that we're living in right now?
Well, a lot of.
Go ahead,
Well, I'm
Karen.
going to let Pat know. Pat, I've been blabbing all night. You go.
Okay, so to me, what's exciting is, if you will, the equal standing we're starting to place, at least in the hearts and minds of people in different parts of the country. Republicans, it's interesting. I'm in a building filled with them. I work in the press during the day, and I'm at the Republican campaign headquarters right now for their events. A lot of them are trying to portray themselves as libertarian leading, and that to me displays a higher degree of acceptance than ever in our concepts. Even if, and I have a lot of good friends who are Republicans, I'm working on them, but what that says is that libertarian leaning now is seen and accepted by both in the media and the political world, the ecosystem, as something that's highly desirable. Quite frankly, we are the coolest kids on the block, and I understand why they want to be like us. But that's probably the single biggest move in the last few years. I also libertarian candidates are getting less and less of those. And Karen, and you know these questions. Why are you running? You're going to lose. Why you don't see that as much anymore, because our candidates are so much more focused on policy. When I listen to some of the debates in Indiana, for example, around the country, where candidates were able to actually not just say, hey, liberty's good, not just say taxation is theft, not just say we're here to tear down the government, but able to get into specific policy initiatives as to why the libertarian solution really is what will work for America.
Real quick, we have an announcement. It is officially, polls are closed, I believe, in every state, in all 50 states, including Hawaii and Alaska.
It is certainly here in the contiguous states, right? And so congrats to everyone who not only ran for a race today, not only who worked on a campaign, but if you went out there and voted, that is awesome. Do you know today was actually my first day voting, which was kind of fun, So that was a really great experience. I know that, it's just as important to make sure we were actually getting out there and voting for libertarians. So thank you to the millions of you who do that. We have, hundreds of candidates who run, but there are, literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans who vote in all of these races. So really great to see that.
Yes. Thank you to all of you who vote libertarian. Thank you for everyone who does not vote for tyrannical government, who votes to oppose vaccine mandates, lockdowns, inflations, wars abroad, and so on and so forth. So how many races are we still waiting on right now? I believe we've had just a couple of new updates. We've got Alex. Oh, I'm so sorry, Alex. I'm going to butcher your name. Alex Vlock, the Lower Loop Natural Resources District 8, won his election unopposed. So fantastic, and congratulations to him.
That's awesome. I believe that puts us at 10 for the night.
I think we're at
which
10
is great.
so far. So we have a few more minutes in this segment until our next guest is up. Let's see if we can pull Pat Ford back in if he's got decent connection.
All right. Can do that.
There he
Okay.
is.
Welcome back, Pat.
I think challenge.
Oh, go ahead, Pat.
I want to give a lot of credit to the states in New England in particular that have had to expend so much energy fighting ballot accesses, and of course New York. The direction we're taking, I believe, and ultimately not just running the ballot access issues, but actually beginning to look at lobbying within the state governments, and not just suing, but actually coming at it with a multifaceted approach. I think there's a lot of strength behind that idea. We have to talk about, and we mentioned this at the meeting in Texas this weekend, equating in folks' mind the notion that ballot access suppression is voter suppression. And a lot of people around the country have been fighting this for decades. Taking this to this new level where we bring this directly to voters and say, you know, if in fact you're only allowed two choices, are you truly have the freedom to vote? Do you have the rights that you deserve to control the direction of your own government? And we need to start to, as we've begun, taking it directly to political leaders who are elected and saying, why are you personally blocking democracy?
It's such a good point, Pat. You know, we always frame it in this lens of a mission we're trying to accomplish, ballot access, something we're trying to gain. But the people who are doing this and who are enforcing these cumbersome laws and adding this friction to voters, what they're doing is ballot blocking. They are trying to prevent choices. And I know we need to have some reasonable way for us to be able to actually get through and vote, but it's ridiculous what we're seeing, the thresholds people are having to reach. And I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I would love to hear, in addition to Region 8, where you're very dialed in, what are you seeing in your capacity as affiliate support chair? What are you seeing in terms of really creative ballot access strategies this year?
You know, again, what we're trying to lay out.
Oh, Pat's having some connectivity issues.
It's that Rhode Island internet, Pat. See, when you can't talk, I'm going to be doing Colorado's better.
He's back.
I'm back. What we're trying to do here with the Affiliate Support Committee is, first and foremost, create the, if you will, the vision that what happens to, FINA in Hawaii is just as important to Florida as it is to Hawaii, that the success of all our affiliates means something to each other. And we need to support the affiliate efforts of each other. And that's on a couple different levels. Number one, physically creating more opportunity in border states for people to engage in the petitioning and the ballot access work that's so necessary. Again, as volunteers. We all know that given the onerous laws that have been placed on us, it's virtually impossible for us to write a check to do these. And they know that's what they're doing to us. It's intentional. So that's the first step. The second step is, again, taking those synergies, those economies of force that we've got, and projecting them across the nation, so that if you will, some of the major television networks, not CBS, ABC, but the people who actually own the stations, as what's happened in Rhode Island, where you've got a television station operator who's got literally hundreds of network affiliates across the country, can artificially impose news blackouts on third parties, can artificially impose blackouts on debate participation for third parties. We have to use our scale in the aggregate to challenge those people. And that's what we're going to do for the next couple of years under affiliate support. It's no longer just going to be a group where we should do some nice projects for people. We're going to proactively work to harness the energy of the libertarian movement around the country, all right, to effectively, by sheer force of will, be given the spot at the table, the seat at the table that we've earned. So that's where affiliate support's going.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And if anyone is liking what they're hearing out there, which I hope you're hearing, that we've got momentum, we've got great wins already happening, and even more rolling in throughout the night. If you're passionate about continuing this issue for the party and making sure that we are getting creative and working hard and smart, again, I will do a shameless plug. You can go to lp.org/donate, and you can let us know that you are interested in the Ballot Access Fund, and really encourage some support there. So thank you for that. I know we've got to switch over to another candidate in a second. Did you have any questions for Karen Ann or Pat before we wrap up?
Just any parting words from you guys, then we're going to make another win announcement and bring on our next candidate.
I don't know if this is correct, but I see in chat, it says that Chase Oliver might be causing a runoff in Georgia. And I'm like, good.
Bleed those two status parties. Hey, my only thing, I'll just leave you with thought, Pat Ford, affiliate support, Pat Ford Region 8. If you want to volunteer anywhere, anyplace, anytime to do anything on behalf of the libertarian movement, the party, the philosophy, just reach out to me. I'm all over the place. We've got spots and places and ideas for virtually everyone. The next couple of days, we take a couple of days off, just a couple. And the next week we get right back to work. And boy, is there a lot of great work to be done. So thanks for having me on tonight. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. It's always a pleasure working with you, and it was fantastic seeing you over the weekend. Looking forward to hitting the ground running later this week as we work on new strategies for candidates.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
And I am going to announce our next win, which is really exciting. David Tyler of Tennessee has won his East Ridge City Council seat. So that's super exciting. David Tyler has just been fantastic. I've met him in Tennessee several times, and he's doing an excellent job. He's another guy who understands that it's all about engaging at the local level, being part of the community, and just being seen as someone who cares about other people and being very solutions oriented. So that's been really exciting. I am very excited that we're about to bring on our Indiana candidate here, Jeff Maurer. Hey there, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Angela and Lainie. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to
So
see you as well.
how has your day been? Give us some updates from Indiana. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It's been a long day. So we're Eastern time here in central Indiana, and my day started 05. I was out voting at my home precinct by 06, and then had extra time in the schedule. So shook hands and met many of my neighbors for about 30 minutes. And in that time, what was very different for the first time this entire election cycle was the majority of people coming up and people I was meeting. They knew me, knew of me, and were planning to vote for me. And so and that was an area that I didn't campaign in that specifically with that focus. So it was a change to see how in the last week our neighbors have really focused in on the issues and have done their homework and saw the value that a Libertarian candidate and Libertarian Party brings to our ballot.
I really appreciated some of the stuff that you explained on the last live stream when you were talking about election integrity. You were able to thread that needle so carefully without it sounding conspiratorial and without it sounding dismissive. I'm curious how voters have reacted to just the comments that you've made about that.
I think if there's any entry point for a major third party libertarians, as I am, it's going to come through integrity. And so to see where the duopoly fails us every time, and to see where a third party has a voice of truth and reason and principle, and our Hoosier neighbors are common sense people like us. So they have heard those messages. They understand that we can do better. We can and do better in our businesses, and we choose not to do that in our elections and in our election processes. And that disconnect, that frustration, that recognition of the failure of the duopoly and of the truth that a third party can bring, that's enough to get us over the hump, to get people to break the habit of pulling an R or a D lever and choosing and doing something different. And as our gubernatorial candidate Donald Rainwater said, if you're sick of getting what you're getting, you have to do something different.
Absolutely. Were you able to learn from the Rainwater campaign from the last election cycle and take any of that stuff to heart?
Absolutely. So Donald's a personal friend of mine, has been a huge supporter of the campaign and very active in fundraising and in connecting and creating opportunities for my campaign. And if he chooses to run again in 2024, then having a greater platform and greater ballot access as a Libertarian Party will be instrumental in furthering his successes then, or any candidate, whichever our candidate is. So yes, we did learn. In fact, we took his data and saw where he performed best, and we're able to focus, and we were able to see where we can make a difference and to know what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve, and to focus on what we can change.
Indiana seems like you guys run a really tight ship. You seem very organized. You seem like you work together really well, and there's a real knowledge continuity. Do you have any other insights you could share? I know that Evan McMahon, your state chair, does a phenomenal job. He's really good with communication. Seems like he really knows what he's doing.
He does, and I have great things to say about everybody here, and we're all different, and there are plenty of things we disagree on, and there were plenty of imperfections and ways that we could get better and become more professional and more effective as a campaign, and certainly me as a candidate. But at the end of the day, it comes to why are we doing this, right? What inspires us? What change do we want to see? And I think you have just common sense, good people here who are all working together. And yes, we differ on lots of the details, but that's okay. We're able to overcome those or put those aside or work within subgroups even. But however the solution, we come together to get the job done. And that's what you see. That's the growing success in Indiana.
Very nice. Do you have any ballot access updates for us? Like we're watching the polls as closely as we can, but it's kind of, we're here, not there. So just curious.
So we're here, and there's a big room of people who are still filtering in and out. But no, we're not seeing any specific updates that you're not. What we do remember from 2020, from Donald Rainwater's race, was that we, as of midnight, we were at 6%, and he ended up with nearly 12. So when we see the details, especially the counties that have not yet reported, who have not yet come in, they are some of the strongest counties where Libertarians have performed, where we have campaigned most heavily. So I'm expecting that we'll see some rebalancing in those numbers, and tomorrow may tell a different story yet.
Very nice.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we have even more good news that we're able to report. Over in Kansas, we have a similar situation where they've got about 80% of their precincts reporting, and they have a threshold of 1%, and they're polling at 1.1. So it's looking like that is looking really good. Congratulations to Seth Cordell, I hope I'm pronouncing, or Cordell, for the wins there. I'm really excited to see that gets close to 100% of those reporting precincts. And Jeff, I've been hearing so much about the state of Indiana, and you mentioned this element of professionalism and strategy. What's something that you're really proud of specifically from the team and what you've been able to accomplish in that area?
Well, I'm certainly most proud of our team, and we just have extraordinary people working together, and you see the results. But it's also, I like to say, do the verb. So if you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be a painter, paint. And my background as an entrepreneur is you've got to build things. You've got to get in there and get messy and try and fail and try again. And so for our campaign, we wanted to be professional. We wanted to be taken seriously. So we did the right things, whether anyone was looking or not, whether anyone was noticing or not, whether it was the cheap or expeditious thing to do. But we wanted to do the right thing, and that people respond. And the message I would say is people see that, people know that, and that movie does come through. That activity does come through.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so great that you mentioned you're an entrepreneur. This is something that I've been noticing as kind of a trend in the LP in the past couple of years, whether it's small business owners or people who are involved in the startup scene in the tech world. It feels like we're having more and more people come into the party and bringing entrepreneurship to everything we do, whether it's scaling projects across the national or international space or running campaigns like a business. What do you think is driving that? And do you think we have a great home for entrepreneurs here?
We do. Anyone who's free and sees a better tomorrow is naturally an entrepreneur, and being liberty-minded is part of being entrepreneurial, and vice versa. Those are two sides of the same coin. So being able to look at the status quo and seeing a better vision of what tomorrow can bring and recognizing how we get there, that's the work of an entrepreneur. Not just to see the vision, but to identify the steps and then to execute them, as even awkwardly or painfully or slowly. It's to make that progress. So where we all see liberty, where we all see the limitations and dissatisfaction of our current state and what we know we can achieve, what we know we can be and ought to be, that shining city upon a hill, then the entrepreneurs in us, and they're in all of us, are looking for those steps and looking to make that progress. And I think that's much of what you see and why that message resonates. So we can do this, we can do better. And against a bloated, stagnant, and broken government and election process, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to find a better way of doing things.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're so happy you're bringing that innovation to the race in Indiana. I actually would love to ask you a little bit about Secretary of State. Tonight, we've been talking to all kinds of candidates running in different races, and Secretary of State is a bit of a unique one. And like Angela mentioned, really pertinent to the way we even run races. And so what are you excited to implement, or what would you like to see in that office for the next person who's going to be in that?
Sure. So my career's been in finance and technology, and that I managed a $300 million budget, and much of that was working with accounting controls and good internal auditing processes, so that way we could run a business. And if you can instead not imagine a stack of ballots on a table, but a stack of cash. Think about how you would treat that cash. How would you secure it? Who would you let touch it and access it? And if we take that same common sense, because we know how to do that in our businesses and in our lives, if we take that common sense and apply it to our elections, then suddenly we're going to get real changes. And that's the exciting part. Of course, I've been focused on audits and receipts as part of my campaign, and I still believe, and I hope that whoever wins the race will work to implement those. And so when you ask what excites me the most, at this point, hearing not libertarians, not just libertarians, but Democrat and Republican candidates also saying, yeah, that makes sense. I'd like to do that. Yeah. So I don't need to take credit for the idea. In fact, I'm not the first one to have this idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
On it, and if we can be so loud and so compelling, and we cannot be ignored, good common sense cannot be ignored any longer, that even Democrats and Republicans have to start moving forward on legislation that will enact these and move in this direction, then we've won. We Absolutely. Don't have to be in office to win, and getting our ideas into the public sphere and into law and into practice, that's winning.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been talking a lot tonight about winning. Again, I feel like there's a very easy and classic way to look at winning as like either someone won a race or they lost a race, but our job as libertarians is to be reframing victory, because at some point, winning is really about freedom happening more. And there's lots and lots of ways that we're doing that. So it's really exciting to hear that not only is your campaign influencing these things, but you're also seeing this happen a little more organically in the opponents that you're facing. And so in addition to being able to, influence people and sort of think about winning differently, something I'm excited to see in a lot of our different races this year is the confidence and having, as we say, winner energy. Do you have to teach other candidates, or what have you been excited to see in your campaign or in Indiana around confidence and acting like you're a winner and acting and being a serious candidate?
No regrets. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of for this campaign is every day, every ounce of energy that we put into the campaign, just living with no regrets. For me, a painful election night would be seeing that we came up just shy of a goal. If we were at 9.99%, we wanted to hit 10%.
Yeah.
So putting it all out there, leaving nothing on the field. There are all these euphemisms or expressions that we have in our language, but the idea of giving it your all that way tonight, and this is why this is winner energy, right? This is why win-lose, that changes the dynamic, because I know we gave it our all. I can look around at the campaign, at the party, at our county infrastructure, at what we're going to be able to do next. We have grown and expanded. We have raised up our own foundation so that 2023, 2024 and beyond are going to be even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I love that is happening in Indiana and actually all over the country is we're not just looking at that 51%, we're looking at thresholds, and we're looking at the hard work that people did in order to not only gain, some thresholds of ballot access, but sort of permanent. And so I know that you all have that objective here. So you're looking at 10%, correct, for primary status, and then 25% for major minor party. Could you explain that a little bit, and why is that even going on in Indiana?
Sure. So this is all written into Indiana state code. And of course, who writes Indiana law? It's Democrats and Republicans. And there is a set of rules for the two major parties. So the top 1 and 2 parties, which coincidentally are Democrats and Republicans. And then all other parties get a different set of rules. So for anyone else, and whether it's Libertarians, Greens, Disability Party, Communist Party of America, Save the Whales Party, it doesn't matter. It's the same set of rules for everyone else. And under 2%, you don't have ballot access, which means politically you're not part of the conversation. Sadly, you're just not part of the political discourse in an effective, meaningful way. At 2%, your party is included in the general election, and Libertarians have proudly held that 2% general election ballot access since 1994. And the next threshold is at 10%. The party gains primary ballot access, which includes a couple benefits, namely information about who your base is, because we have an open primary, and second is the millions of dollars inherent in free media, earned media from being part of the conversation during primary elections. But at the next tier up, or as a separate, parallel, and overlapping goal, in any county in which I come in second place, because Indiana, the Secretary of State's race is the ballot access race, Any second place win gets the Libertarian Party the ability to appoint a Libertarian to the 3-person county election board. And again, just in terms of rebalancing and reshifting power, you can see where Libertarians will have a seat at the table in a very real and literal way, but also have an ability to influence the way we run our elections and the way that we shape our government.
And this is really exciting, like to see that all the progress you're making. And again, congratulations on it looks like hitting that first major step. And hopefully you guys hit the next two marks. I know we're really waiting with bated breath on the next level up. What are you excited to see about the Indiana ballot access? And we do have some news around the country for some more wins there.
That's really great. I mean, I'm just excited, again, kind of like Alabama. I think it's really, I'm excited to see other states adopt this sort of mentality. And to see how important professionalism is, and to see that there are other areas that people are really passionate about. And electoral reform is one, and that you don't have to approach it from a conspiratorial kind of weirdos perspective. This is just like a common sense governance issue.
Absolutely. And again, to that professionalism, we can see it here on the live stream tonight. While you're away, Angela, Jeff and I were able to talk about winner energy and having a bit of that confidence. Let me ask you, Jeff, as someone who's been able to do that throughout the campaign, there is a tomorrow, there is a new chapter that starts, and we have some results that, might be win or lose. What's your advice to candidates and how we can have winner energy and carry that confidence through following some of these races, whether we're getting into these offices or we're not?
Yeah, so some of my background is in sales, and anyone who works in sales also knows that it's not you, right? You have an identity, that's who you are, but you also have a role to play. And part of the role is you're not going to win every game, you're not going to win every election. If you bat 300 in the Major League Baseball, that's a great hitting record, and you're still striking out 70% of the time. So recognize that failure is part of the job, and we don't want it, we want to minimize it, but by getting up and by running and getting better, constantly getting better, that's the metric, that's winning. If we're constantly getting better, we're winning every time. And that is something absolutely within our control. I want to give a shout out to Chase Oliver in Georgia and other amazing candidates like Ricky Harrington and in New York and everywhere else where we have some great people, and they are on camera and in debates and speaking our truths and our principles and our values. So I think that's a professionalism that we see, and it's part of setting a high bar for everyone nationally to see that what feels kind of like a ragtag group of people who just want to be left alone. And yeah, it's shirts and t-shirts and sweatpants some days, but yet there's a professionalism out there, there's a winning energy out there, and we can all rise up to it and be part of it and to drive it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And earlier tonight, we got to share some good news coming out of Candace and Seth Cordell. We'd also love to be able to celebrate with you a win we just heard about in Oklahoma. So congratulations to Chris Powell, who's running for lieutenant governor there. And he just secured ballot access with 4.3% of the vote. So really excited to see that this is happening all around the country. And again, it is really, really important, not just think of these as individual races where we're looking for 51%, but what we're trying to do is make it even easier to run next time. So congratulations to all the candidates there.
And something that libertarians have to kind of get used to is that this is a long-term game. We have to be ready to fight with a 10, 20-year plan sometimes to slowly claw back our freedoms. And that means gaining percentage points bit by bit over a handful of years. We have that forward-thinking long-term strategy in mind. We don't feel crushed if we don't win at the polls and every single election. We're able to look at the ways that we were able to shift the Overton window in the direction of libertarian policy. We're able to get wins by having our policies and philosophies discussed in the media, which is also another really great thing. We're able to also normalize ourselves in the eyes of the public. And I think all of that stuff is really important, and it sets us up for wins in the future, especially when sometimes we're not properly equipped right now. Like we're shorthanded or we're inexperienced, that's okay. Kind of like Karen Ann was saying earlier, running for race the first time gives you practice, and then you become more polished and more experienced as you run, and you become a better candidate. And ultimately, that's the kind of person we want in these positions, someone who is experienced and ready and able to really take on this role of governance.
Yeah.
I think of all the energy that I had in the campaign and then everything that I would do now. And now that I've been through it and have seen it, this is my first run for public office. That's not a secret.
Wow.
So everything that I would do even better next time. And so that's the energy that I bring. But Angela, I think you make a great point, which is we have to fight the battle, but we have to win the war. And so keeping that long-term strategy in perspective. And if we keep making progress, we are absolutely winning the war.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, I'll tee this up for you and for any other candidates that are listening. We've heard from so many people tonight, whether it's their first race or they've done this, they've been around the block many times. We want to capture that energy, capture all those insights and anything that's burning in you, like, I really wish I had done this, or I wish I had known this, or this worked really well. We're actually going to be reaching out to all of our candidates in the next few days to not only hear how your experience went, but give you an opportunity to write a note to future candidates and let them know, here's what you can be doing and in the toughest days of the race, and here's why you should stick with it. So if you're out there and you're a candidate, whether you're celebrating or whether you're reflecting on just a really good race, just know that that's coming, and we're really excited to pass along all of your good advice to the people who can run in the next batch. And I've got one other question for you as we've got you here. Angela mentioned that you found a way to really resonate with people with creative messaging when it comes to threading the needle on different ways that we're thinking about elections and reducing friction there. What other things are you seeing around the country that are creative forms of messaging that we are really breaking through as libertarians, whether it happened in Indiana or whether it happened, on social media or on the ground? Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. And I'm not even the best at this. I think Donald Rainwater is my mentor in this, and he just has a way of taking very complex issues and boiling them down to plain language that common sense people can understand. And I like visual language myself. So any ways that we can take something complicated. We've got Chad Van Ryn, who's one of our local county council candidates in Owen County, Indiana, has a great saying, and he's just fed up with paying for steak, but getting bologna. And I just love this. And he does a much better delivery than I do, but it's his, right? And he owns it. So the way that he says and delivers, I'm sick of paying for steak, but getting bologna. And we just understand that. Again, common sense and the idea that we are being taxed for something that we're not getting and being taken advantage of by a government that's not responding to us, all the complexities and the nuanced balances, the politics that deliver that. He sums it up in a very elegant, easy to understand, and accessible way. And so listen to those messages, understand the issues, and have a conversation with somebody, maybe not in your neighborhood, maybe not even in your state, because people who have a little bit of distance can often help you see what you can't see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talking so much tonight about our candidates, campaign managers, treasurers, volunteers, everyone who's part of the candidate process. But another opportunity when we're all sitting here celebrating tonight to all of the marketers out there who've been doing great work in messaging. I know we've been trying to do a lot of innovation here in the party, and it's really, really working. So, congratulations to anyone who's helping to get out the word. And like you said, Jeff, think of different ways to resonate with people. Think of different ways to reach people and drive word of mouth. Think of ways to make the complicated simple so that people listen to us. We always know taxation is theft, but I really love the line about bologna. It's a different twist on that I haven't heard, and is certainly going to be a little more applicable to someone who hasn't read all the books that we have. So that is really great to hear. And Angela, did you have any other questions for Jeff tonight?
Are you taking a day off tomorrow?
No, we go right back at it. So it may be a slower day, but there's more work to do, and we're going to keep the momentum, keep going. And there's a lot of gratitude in my heart that that's the first place to start with sharing that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being with us. We would love any other words of wisdom you have to impart or any anecdotes. We'll take them.
Oh, there are definitely some anecdotes, and not all of them are publishable, but there's some really funny moments from the campaign, and those are great to share too.
Yeah, if you have a funny moment that you would like to share now is a great time.
No, I'm going to let you ladies go, and I know you have lots of other great candidates to speak with, but thank you for making this program tonight and for sharing the successes across our country, because that really is what brings us together, and know that you're not alone.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both. Good night.
Awesome. And
I know we've got an update that we'll be able to share in a little bit about the current status on the number of races that we're waiting on versus the winners that we've already seen. What I'd love to do is ask you the very same question I have asked Jeff around this marketing or messaging innovation that we're seeing. Has there been anything you've been very impressed by? We've seen a couple of clever anecdotes around the eggs and the koozies tonight, but just in terms of messaging and finding ways to simplify things for other voters or other potential issue coalitions. What are you seeing there?
Well, I gotta say, I really liked Jimmy Blake riding a bike across Alabama because I thought that was really funny, little tongue-in-cheek swipe at Joe Biden. I really would love to see the candidates, like state by state, start to adopt something that is like cohesive.
Yeah.
So that we can really use that to amplify our message in the media and with voters. You know, that we all share hashtags and things like that. But if there are political stunts that we can all share and accomplish at the same time, I would love to see that. I'm going to be encouraging that going forward. I want to see more states adopt working together. And, you know, like in Arizona, I know that there was some friction because candidates were not necessarily speaking and staying in close contact with the state affiliates. So I hope that lessons that we've learned from campaigns like Jeff's and from Alabama and also Indiana is that candidates are going to excel when they work closely with the other libertarians in their state party.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're going to be doing the best that we can at National to serve as a hub, not only to facilitate conversation from everyone, but to see if we can get, you know, some of these good ideas to be shared out with anyone who's interested in adopting them. And I know we'd also certainly encourage, just like it seems like it's happening in the South, and we heard a lot of Southern pride, Southeastern pride, that if you are feeling really proud or insightful about anything you've learned, feel free to reach out to your fellow states in your region or just anywhere in the country, because we're all one big team fighting for freedom and just trying to figure it out as we go. And so we're closing in on the end of our live stream in a few minutes here. Question for you on the night. What's on your mind? Is there anything we haven't gotten to yet that's really exciting or just really interesting that's going on this year?
Just wondering how many days it's going to take to get election results in some of these states. That has been a real pain point. You know, we've got missions to Mars in the works, but we can't figure out how to count ballots by the end of the night.
Well, the government's doing both of those,
maybe
you know,
those
so
ballots are on Mars.
That's maybe they are. Oh my gosh, we'll get Elon on it. I hear he's getting involved with
Curious
politics
to hear
these
how
days.
things are going in Florida too.
Yeah.
Dennis Bisigoy's campaign for Congress was one that I really liked. He incorporated talking about cryptocurrency, and I think he did it in a very eloquent way. So that's really amazing. Hector Roos, a controversial candidate who is running against Ron DeSantis because he was very upset about red flag laws. I'm curious to see if he made any headway with his constituency down in Florida. I know that the Florida Libertarians are very passionate about that race. And from the outside looking in, a lot of people were really championing Ron DeSantis for opposing lockdowns, but they had a different view. So I'm excited to see what happens in that race. I believe Greg Abbott beat Beto O'Rourke, but I have yet to see actual numbers come in. So I want to see how our candidate Mark Tippett did.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of exciting races there. And I think in general, it's good to see that we're getting choices to all the voters. And again, that's the main thing is we don't want anyone to feel entitled to either a Coke or Pepsi position there. Yeah.
Yes, they need to compete and they need to really win our votes. They need to win our votes. A lot of people have asked, they point out to me on social media, they say, Angela, why isn't there a libertarian on my ballot? Why isn't there a libertarian running an XYZ race? My response is, I would love for you to run in that race next cycle. The reason that we have races where we're not running people in is because we need more people to step up. And so to that extent, I invite you to sign up. Go to lp.org. We want more candidates. We are going to be working really hard on putting together really good resources too, to train you, whether it's in-person trainings or online trainings that are easily accessible. That is a real passion project of mine over the next couple of years. And it is also something that's going to need some funding. So again, we got to plug lp.org/donate. Join us, be a candidate. donate to candidate funding. Like, let's make it happen. I think that there are some incredible opportunities ahead of us, especially as we roll into the presidential election year.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to contributing resources, which we absolutely need, we've talked a lot tonight about volunteers. I want to extend an invitation to anyone who's listening tonight to also just be vocal about what makes you nervous and why you are concerned about running as a candidate.
Yeah.
Something that really helps us at National is we really are trying to be useful and be productive for all of our members and our affiliates. We've got great relationships with a lot of our state and county leadership. But if you're out there thinking to yourself, gosh, I would be nervous to run or nervous to be a campaign manager or a treasurer or any kind of volunteer, I don't really know if I'm qualified or where to get started. Even vocalizing that concern allows us to go, that is really difficult. Like, how would we help people? Yep. Or to reset expectations and say, that's actually very easy. And this is how we can communicate those tips or those resources to people. So feel free to be a squeaky wheel and let us know through a number of surveys and things we're going to be doing following the election so that we can help you with that.
Yeah. I have run for Congress twice, and it was an incredible learning experience. One of the things that I learned is that personally, I would have found more value in running at a local level. I think ballot access races are incredibly powerful. They're very important, and we need people to run. But one of the things I really want to emphasize as chair of the national party is to not overlook local, because those races are absolutely winnable for libertarians. You can get in there, you can win, and you can make a really powerful difference, especially if you're running in a small town that's in a tyrannical blue state. That's like the things that you can do there to nullify state law and hold those tyrants at bay. Like, it's really incredible. You can save people's jobs, which means that you can save them from bankruptcy, which means you could maybe save their lives. You can save their children's college funds. I know that a lot of libertarians and anarchists who align with us philosophically kind of roll their eyes at voting in elections, but some of the changes that you can make at the local level are really powerful. And then we've seen, how meaningful it is to the people in Alabama when we get out there and champion criminal justice reform. There are a lot of really incredible things that you can do as a candidate. You have a whole platform that's open to you. You have access to media. You can get your message out. You get a statement in the ballot. Like, there's so many creative ways to market libertarianism just through running for office. So if you're on the fence about it, I'm telling you, give it a thought, give it a try. We want to see you run.
And I know something that I've learned throughout the past year and a half, but definitely reinforced tonight is it's not as hard as it looks. It's very difficult, and we want to give a lot of applause and kudos to anyone who's taken this journey. But I think it seems extremely intimidating to try to take on the state, even if it's at the local level. And you'd be surprised how achievable and manageable it is if you just get a couple volunteers together and you all have passion to fight for things that they're so meaningful, right? Like, I think with election season, it starts to feel like numbers, and we're trying to fill spreadsheets and things and trying to see, how many votes we can get. But like you said, it really, at the end of the day, these are incredibly meaningful things that we are fighting for. And everything from getting the message out to actually winning your race is making a huge difference. So thank you to everyone tonight who has fought that fight. That is awesome to see. And I know that we are coming up on the end of our live stream in a second. I want to make sure that we've addressed all of the winners that we have tonight. We do have one update that's really important, which is that Bill Schultz, who joined us early in the evening, we were saying we were cautiously optimistic, cautiously congratulatory. We can make that officially and enthusiastically congratulatory. So amazing job to Bill Schultz and his team. And I know that we might have a couple of other updates coming in the next couple of minutes. Are there any parting thoughts that you have for the good people who are following us in the next couple of minutes here?
I want to see the Ron Paul revolution fire carried on through the Libertarian Party. Mm-hmm. And there's always been this argument about whether or not that spirit should be carried on through the GOP or through the Libertarian Party. And I want to remind everyone what the GOP did to Ron Paul in 2008 and 2012, which is that they shut him out and they were horrible to him. That is not the vehicle that I have chosen to move liberty forward. And it's for those reasons, because I think that it is so incredibly deeply entrenched in corruption and deep state operatives and people who are really in it for government money and to pursue military industrial contracts and wars for empire. That is just not the path to freedom. And so what I really want this party to be is the vehicle for freedom. And we can do that in so many ways. We can do it through electoral progress. We can do that.
We'll make sure.
We can do that through shifting the Overton window by forcing other people to adopt our policy positions. We can do it through viral media. You can do it just through getting the message out there at the polls and through your campaign literature. And so for anybody who's passionate about liberty, for anybody who was a big Ron Paul supporter, for anybody who, even if you joined the party through Gary Johnson, like whatever vehicle you use to get here, like we want to invite you to continue that fire in your heart and do it through the LP, because this is going to be the future for freedom. I'm really passionate about decentralization too. And I know that there have been a lot of controversial takes on national divorce. Ultimately, really what it is about you being able to live your life as an individual. And that we want to support that, and we want to carve a path for you to do so, because the individual is the smallest minority, and maybe we're not all going to agree on how we want to live our lives, and that's totally okay, because you should be able to live your life however you want, and we just need to get government out of the way.
Absolutely. And 2 quick points I'll just add to that. You mentioned the Ron Paul revolution. Something I am noticing in this party, and I think everyone is noticing it. We're noticing it, we're feeling it, and we're even see Republicans and Democrats and people in the corporate press who are starting to pick up on this, and whether they're writing about it from a case study sort of perspective, or they're getting really afraid of us, they're noticing that something is happening. And what I'm seeing happen is the college kids of the Ron Paul revolution, the people who got out there, had so much enthusiasm, and were just really, really passionate about what this candidate was saying. They've grown up. It's been 10 years. That fire and that passion is still really alive, but they have taken all of these things that they've learned, and they've been watching and studying how we can be creative and how we can be strategic in bringing those skills to be a movement that is legitimate and taken seriously. And so if that sounds like you're a person who's excited to get creative and start winning these wins, both at the national level and in this decentralized fashion, we want you on our team. And if you're a college kid today who's Ron Paul, or you love Ron and you're excited to join a team that is trying to keep that spirit alive, we want you on our team. So I think this is a home for anybody who's interested in all of that. And with that, I think we have our final graphic of the night to be able to announce stuff. So we are looking at about 11 winners
so far.
Yes.
So far. We're still waiting on a lot of races to be calculated, anxious to find out the rest of the results. But as we know, ballots on Mars or in shopping carts in Florida parking lots, we're not sure. We're just waiting to find out. But we have 11 confirmed winners so far across the country. And we thank you all so much for running in your races and for all the hard work you put in, campaign volunteers as well. Really proud of everyone. Super excited.
Absolutely. And I know if you're watching this, it's likely you're already doing this, but you can stay tuned for even more updates in all of our candidates on the hours, days, and weeks to come. It is a bit of a long slog. We have to wait on the government to count all of those ballots. But you can do that by following us all on social media. We're really excited to offer you content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, pretty much anywhere you want to get your news. And we not only do amazing updates like this and try to bring you good races, but try to keep that Liberty flame alive every single day with really good content. So shout out to our communications team who's been able to pull off this live stream tonight. And again, to those data entry volunteers who are watching all of the races around the country to be able to bring you these updates. With that, Any other final thoughts before we close this off?
Yeah, I think we should share a Ron Paul anecdote, which actually comes from the book of Isaiah. So in the book of Isaiah, God speaks to the prophet Isaiah and tells him, go out and I need you to preach to the masses and tell them the good word and give it to them really strong. And I need you to scare them and tell them how bad things are and that they've got to get back on track or everything's just going to go to hell. And this is like your last chance. Like you've got to accept this message. And prophet Isaiah says, okay, I'll do that. And then God says, well, also, they're not going to listen to you and they're going to ridicule you and run you out of town. And Isaiah says, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you want me to do that? And God says, well, don't you get it? It's not about the people who ignore you. It's about everyone else because there's this remnant out there and they need encouragement and they need you to gather them up and they need you to inspire them and put them together because when all hell breaks loose and everything else falls apart, those are the people who are going to rebuild and save everything. And that's what libertarians are right now. When we are faced with nuclear war and inflation and the country hating each other and everything falling apart, we are the ones who are going to stand strong and who are going to be here to withstand it all and rebuild and bring back the goodness that's left in the world.
I cannot think of any better winter energy message to end on than that. Cheers to everyone who's out there fighting the good fight. And thank you for tuning in with us. Congrats to all of our candidates who have already been announced as winners and all of you who will be announced in the days to come. With that, we're going to wrap up and wish you good night.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I just want to remind you to go to lp.org, join the party, get involved, and we're so happy to have you. Good night, everyone.